Chapter 235. Surrounded by the pale candlelight, Zhang Yao knelt on the ground and muttered something. If one listened carefully, it sounded like he was in a trance, unconsciously muttering to himself. Zhang Yao was worshipping a stone statue with a blurry face. From its appearance, it was a female, but it could not be considered human because there were dense tree roots carved at the foot of the statue. As Zhang Yao's chanting became faster and faster, the candlelight in the room began to flicker. Whoosh! A gust of wind blew. "It's you?" A cold female voice sounded. However, immediately afterward, that female voice became furious. Wailing sounds could be heard from the side of her ears. "What happened here? Why are my people crying?" Zhang Yao raised his head, dark green liquid seeping out of his 7 orifices, and his voice became extremely miserable. He pointed outside the ancestral hall and said with grief and indignation, "Today, a stranger barged in from outside. The elders were kind and brought him to pay respects to you, but he suddenly attacked at the entrance of the ancestral hall and killed everyone. That person relied on his unparalleled yang cultivation, and the people could not stop him at all. In the end, the elders and the seniors fought to the death and drove that person into the village. But now, that person has not only not left, but is also slaughtering the villagers. I hope you can kill this person and avenge our people." A pale green wind blew out of the stone statue, rushed out of the ancestral hall, blew through the mountain path, swept past the village, and finally returned to the stone statue. Crack! There was a cracking sound. On the stone statue, dense cracks appeared in an instant, and fine stone powder drifted in the air. Zhang Yao saw this scene, and his eyes flashed with uncontrollable joy. Then he kowtowed to the ground, burying his entire face in the ground. "Lord Muyu, you must avenge our people." Avenge! Pale green light flowed out of the cracks of the stone statue and condensed into a human figure in front of the stone statue. She was the Muyu that Zhang Yao spoke of. Muyu flew out and came to the entrance of the ancestral hall. There were half-human, half-demon corpses lying there. Their upper bodies were humans, and their lower bodies were trees. These were the villagers of Tranquil village, and they often came to the ancestral hall to pay respects to her. But now, all of them were dead. Clansmen. Muyu's face was filled with sorrow. Suddenly, a loud noise pulled her back to reality. She raised her head and saw another pillar of fire rising from Tranquil village. She could even hear the pained cries of the villagers. Muyu's eyes turned ferocious. "Intruders, you deserve to die." With a flash of green light, she returned to the ancestral hall. She looked at Zhang Yao, who was still kneeling on the ground, and said, "Look after the ancestral hall. I will go and kill that person." Without giving Zhang Yao a chance to speak, she rushed out. After a while, Zhang Yao raised his head with a strange smile on his face. He stood up and walked to the door. He looked in the direction of Tranquil village and muttered to himself, unable to suppress the joy in his voice. "Zhou, Muyu, go ahead and kill each other. In the end, I'll send you both to hell." Then he got up and walked to the front of the altar. With a wave of his hand, he swept away the messy things on the table, leaving only the cracked stone statue. He walked to the side of the statue and sat down side by side. Looking at the distant sky and feeling the boiling night sky, Zhang Yao sighed. It's true that the higher you stand, the further you can see. In the future, this place will be mine. I will also have many people. When the time comes, I will build a huge altar and accept the worship of tens of thousands of people. Go to hell. Zhou flashed and caught up with a treant that was running away. He punched the treant's body. His inner strength exploded, and another torch appeared in Tranquil village. After dealing with the treant in front of him, Zhou turned around and looked around. Of the dozen or so treants that had surrounded him, 2 were still alive. Zhou absorbed the cool energy. His heart thumped, and waves of hot blood rushed through his body. At this moment, he was in a very good state. All right, it's enough to increase the power of the Wisdom King Scripture. Zhou did not chase after the 2 treants that were running away. Instead, he sat down cross-legged. After the previous round of killing, he had used up a lot of his inner strength. Although his recovery speed was fast, it was not as fast as meditating. Zhang Yao. Zhou Fu looked in the direction of the village and said calmly, "I'll go find you later. The matter between us has dragged on for too long." Wisdom King Scripture. Increase. Boom. Zhou Fu's mind suddenly shook, and the blood in his body boiled. With him, as the center, a wave of hot inner strength was released. At this moment, the darkness around Zhou Fu was completely dispelled. The Akalanatha Dharma stood in his mind. The monastic robe that was made of demonic fog kept floating, and the fire lotus under its feet kept rotating. The white round wheel behind the Dharma idol's head also started to rotate, and on the round wheel, there were some patterns that looked like symbols and words. The great inner strength in Zhou Fu's meridians was constantly being extracted by the Dharma idol. In his mind, the great inner strength turned into starlight and slowly merged into the golden chain in the Dharma idol's left hand. The great inner strength of the great sun, true Qi, disappeared, and Zhou Fu's body was empty except for his blood. The Dharma idol in his mind slowly emitted a gentle white light. The lines of its body and the contours of its face became clearer under the white light. Zhou Fu's expression was calm. He quietly waited for the next change. Now that he had spent so much effort, he did not believe that the Wisdom King Scripture would only change so little. At this moment, the Dharma idol suddenly shouted, as if it had been enlightened. All the techniques that Zhou Fu had seen and practiced appeared in his mind. At the same time, it was accompanied by the memories of his training and battles. This information was like a flood, constantly washing Zhou Fu's mind. At this moment, Zhou Fu felt that the world was spinning. His brain felt like it had been put into a blender, and it was constantly being churned. Okay. He wanted to say something, but once he opened his mouth, it was as if he had lost the ability to speak. In the next moment, an extremely strong sense of dizziness suddenly rushed out. With a bang, Zhou Fu fell to the ground, his body constantly twitching. "I really want to die," Zhou Fu thought. Just as Zhou Fu was about to be tortured to the point of insanity by this feeling, a cool energy flowed out from between his eyebrows. The dizziness instantly disappeared, and Zhou Fu was able to breathe. ABA. Zhou Fu quickly shut his mouth. Chapter 236. The information in his mind was still flowing, and his brain was quickly digesting these things. However, his body was still lying on the ground. Although he could move, he wanted to lie down like this. In order to resist the strong dizziness, the mental power flowing from between his eyebrows was consumed quickly. In less than 10 seconds, the strong dizziness hit him again. Zhou Fu subconsciously operated the God wheel between his eyebrows, but there was no inner strength in his body. A dry feeling emerged in his heart. Therefore, he mobilized the Yangming wheel and the Qi-Si wheel. The essence in his body was converted into Qi and blood by the Yangming wheel. The Qi and blood were converted into inner strength by the Qi-Si wheel. The inner strength was then extracted by the God wheel and converted into cool mental power. After the dizziness was suppressed again, Zhou Fu slowly stood up. He opened his mouth and the ability to speak was restored. At this moment, a heavy pressure came from the sky. He couldn't help but look up. A dark green long whip was coming at his head. Zhou Fu took a deep breath and his eyes lit up. "Zhang Yao, you have guts. I haven't gone to find you yet, and you've come to me." With a flash, Zhou Fu dodged the attack. Boom! After a loud noise, a deep crack was drawn on the ground. The vibration of the ground made Zhou Fu's eyes twitch. This attack, is it really Zhang Yao? The other party's progress is too fast. The long whip didn't hit, but it immediately rolled up. Like a spirit snake, it wrapped around Zhou Fu again. Zhou Fu, who was about to dodge again, suddenly had an inexplicable feeling in his heart. Facing the attack in front of him, he punched out. A golden light appeared on his fist. His inner strength had returned, but it had changed color. With a bang, the snake-like whip trembled and stopped moving. Zhou Fu changed his fist into a claw. His 5 fingers were shining with golden light. He suddenly pierced into the green light and grabbed the long whip tightly. Under the impact of Zhou Fu's golden inner strength, the green light exploded with a bang. At this moment, Zhou Fu was holding a jade-like branch in his hand. Eh! Seeing such an exquisite item, Zhou Fu exclaimed in surprise. Needless to say, this thing looked pretty good. Crash! The branches seemed to have sensed the threat and began to twist wildly, trying to break free. Zhou Fu clenched his fists tightly, and the golden radiance rapidly contracted, exuding a sharp aura that was accompanied by waves of heat. This was the combination of the Wisdom King scripture with the great sun True Qi and the gold-cracking finger. Sizzle. An ear-piercing sound rang out, and a large amount of sparks burst out between Zhou Fu's fingers and the branches, as if he was cutting steel. Outsider, you slaughter my people. You deserve to die. The cold female voice stunned Zhou Fu. The other party wasn't Zhang Yao, but it didn't matter. Since she called the tree demon he killed a clansman, it meant that she was also a tree demon. Since tree demons harm people, he could just kill them all. In the sky, another green light came. Although it wasn't as powerful as the long whip that Zhou Fu caught, the light was more dazzling, causing Zhou Fu's temple to twitch. This was the target of the green light. Oomph. With an unwilling snort, Zhou Fu let go of the branch in his hand and dodged the attack. Whoosh! The branch was quickly pulled back, and the green light seemed to have a mind of its own. It suddenly turned and continued to attack Zhou Fu. It can turn. Zhou Fu widened his eyes. This was the first time he saw a long-range attack that could turn. However, just as he was about to continue dodging and look for the enemy behind him, a strong sense of dizziness came over him. F***CK. Zhou Fu cursed angrily. He swayed and fell to the ground with a thud. The green light brushed past the corner of Zhou Fu's clothes and hit the side. Boom! With a loud bang, Zhou Fu was swept away by the shockwave. After flying 5 or 6 meters, he crashed to the ground again. You dodged quickly. A mocking voice came, making Zhou Fu sullen. If it weren't for the fact that I'm not feeling well right now, I would have pressed you down and beaten you. The thought of complaining flashed through his mind, and then a large amount of information surged into his mind, making Zhou Fu dizzy. At the same time, he was puzzled. What's with this upgrade? Is it to integrate everything I've learned? But isn't this too violent? His head was about to explode. How the hell did those people who cultivated the Great Sun scripture manage to endure it? It was no wonder that Zhou Fu thought so. After all, he had never received a systematic martial arts education. And as the place of inheritance of the Great Sun Sutra, Defo Temple naturally had their own systematic cultivation method. They had rich experience in what was needed for each realm and how to accumulate experience. Not only that, none of the people who cultivated the Great Sun Sutra in Defo Temple had increased their cultivation techniques realm like Zhou Fu. They had all relied on the accumulation of time to break through a bottleneck. Naturally, they would have the strength of a corresponding realm and would not have suffered like Zhou Fu. When the person in the dark saw Zhou Fu fall to the ground, 2 more branches emitting green light shot out and lashed at him. Bang, bang, bang. Amidst the green light, a golden figure was sent flying. But no matter how they attacked, Zhou Fu did not come out unscathed, but he also did not suffer any substantial injuries. Ah! Bastard! Outsider, I'll kill you! Seeing that her attacks were ineffective, Muyu was furious. She stood in the air, a ball of green light appearing between her hands. Within the green light, 18 thread-like rays of light shot out. The rays of light fell and drilled into the bodies of the 18 surviving tree demons in the village. Roar! With a deafening roar, 18 figures soared into the air and swiftly arrived at Muyu's side, surrounding her like stars surrounding the moon. Holding the ball of light connected to the threads, Muyu's eyes were filled with hatred. She could sense that the person below had not only killed her clansmen, but had also devoured the spirit energy that dissipated after their deaths. This meant that the outsider had come for the spirit energy in their bodies. At this moment, Muyu had already discovered the truth. Connecting the dots between her dead clansmen and the charred corpses below, although she still felt that something was wrong. Now was not the time to delve into it. Muyu's eyes burned with anger as she glared at Zhou Fu. With a howl, she pressed her hands down. Outside her dot, in a flash, 18 black figures like 18 small mountains howled through the air as they smashed toward Zhou Fu. The black figures that blotted out the sky and surged like a tidal wave, startling Zhou Fu so much that he broke out in a cold sweat. Even the dizziness in his head disappeared. Run. I can't take it. With the support of the Wisdom King scripture, his adamantine battle body was indeed extremely tough. However, this did not mean that he could take all the attacks head-on. His organs, meridians, and blood were not as tough as his body. With a boom, the ground beneath Zhou Fu's feet cracked open, and a sharp blade appeared under his feet. His figure disappeared in the blink of an eye. The 18 figures landed on the ground, and the entire Tranquil village quieted down. It was like the silence before a volcano erupted. In the next moment, the ground, air, and even space began to vibrate more and more violently. Boom! Rivers burst, glaciers crumbled. Violent shock waves swept in all directions. Zhou Fu's eyes widened, and his body shone with golden light. He madly activated the blade steps that he recalled, which was the fastest movement technique in a straight line. In Tranquil Village, a golden silhouette smashed through one house after another, madly dashing forward. Behind him was a wall of shock waves that was more than 100 feet tall. Just as Zhou Fu was running for his life, a green light enlarged in front of his eyes. He could vaguely hear Zhang Yao's voice. Zhou Fu, I hope you can survive. If Zhou Fu were to turn, he would be hit by the shock waves behind him. Moreover, his speed was too fast. If he were to suddenly turn, his body would not be able to take the load. Fight! Zhou Fu roared, kill! A golden fist struck out, and the branches that were coming at him were broken. However, Zhou Fu's speed had also slowed down. He had to turn around and take the shockwaves head-on. Whoosh! A gust of wind blew past, and Zhou Fu immediately lost his 5 senses. The shockwaves swept up countless things, and under the acceleration of the wind, they became objects that were not weaker than weapons. Clang! 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 Countless attacks hit Zhou Fu continuously. Although he did not appear to be injured, his blood and chi were constantly being hit by these ordinary objects. I can't stand anymore. Zhou Fu squinted his eyes and tried his best to keep his body stable. At this moment, a black shadow hit Zhou Fu, and he was immediately swept away by the shockwaves. In the shockwaves, Zhou Fu was blown up and down like duckweed. Fortunately, the information in his mind had stabilized. Otherwise, he felt that he would have vomited. It was unknown how many things he had smashed into. After the shockwave passed, Zhou Fu was slammed into a tree trunk. Crack! The tree trunk broke, and Zhou Fu broke free. Cough, cough! He spat out a mouthful of bloody saliva, took a deep breath, and immediately activated his internal force to heal his injuries. Ding! Wisdom King Scripture has successfully leveled up. Current level, level 7. Wisdom King Scripture, level 7. Akala Dharma, Akala Physique, Dharma. Demon Subduing, Light of Wisdom. There's an additional light of wisdom compared to level 6. This light of wisdom should be the reason for the large amount of information in my mind. However, this change is too little. Zhou Fu looked at the stats board while healing his injuries. Akala Dharma, he understood this. Demon Subduing, it had a high probability of being able to cultivate demonic arts. As for Light of Wisdom, Zhou Fu guessed that it improved his memory and perception. The thing that confused him the most was the Akala Physique. He had no clue about it all. Boom! Boom! The feeling of the earth shaking came from afar. Zhou Fu stood up and saw the person who attacked him floating in the air. In that person's hand, there were 18 threads that connected to 18 giant tree demons on the ground. They were walking towards him. Chapter 237. Feeling the tremors under his feet, Zhou Fu thought of retreating for the time being. If I can't win, I'll retreat first. Upgrading the scripture of the Enlightened King is already the biggest reward. I'll come back after I've recovered. At this moment, Zhou Fu didn't want to fight with his opponent. The benefits were too low. After all, even if he killed his opponent, he would only gain some cool energy. The price he would have to pay was at least serious injuries. This was still thinking on the bright side. If he couldn't win, it would be interesting. After thinking of a plan, Zhou Fu didn't hesitate. He turned and ran away. However, just as Zhou Fu turned, a green light flashed on his back. The light was so weak that Zhou Fu didn't even notice it. Outsider, Mu Yu's voice sounded again. I didn't expect you to still be alive. You're really lucky. However, I don't know if you'll be so lucky next time. Mu Yu, who was floating in the sky, noticed Zhou Fu's movement and deduced that he wanted to leave. She snorted. Leave? In your dreams. You killed so many of my people today, and you still want to leave? Dream on. Mu Yu roared. Her body flashed with green light. Countless light spots floated from her body and scattered into the forest around Zhou Fu. Those light spots fell and quickly merged with the plants. Not good. The scene in front of him shocked Zhou Fu. He hurriedly activated his inner strength, but it was too late. After the surrounding plants absorbed the green light spots, they first grew wildly and then attacked Zhou Fu. Facing attacks from all directions, Zhou Fu's eyes flashed with a cold light. He snorted. If that's the case, I'll try out the skills I've just learned. After upgrading the scripture of the enlightened king, he understood some moves. The Dharma in his mind suddenly disappeared. A majestic aura rose from Zhou Fu's body. In his left hand, there was suddenly a chain that emitted a golden light and was accompanied by a hot aura. Whoosh! Zhou Fu raised his left hand, and the chain unfurled in the air. A layer of flames rose from the chain. Zhou Fu was very familiar with the aura of the flame. It was the aura of the great sun, true Qi. Whoosh! Zhou Fu swung the chain in his hand and began to roast it. After clearing the obstacles, Zhou Fu stopped in his tracks and turned his head in confusion. The powerful pressure from behind seemed to have lessened by quite a bit. What's going on? Could it be that it was the kind of attack that would damage the enemy by 1,000 but damage the user by 800? Zhou Fu couldn't help but struggle in his heart. If it was really as he thought, then he could counterattack. Out of caution, Zhou Fu continued to run. However, he slowed down quite a bit in order to sense the situation of the enemy behind him. Mu Yu, who was chasing after Zhou Fu, was in a bad state. Even the green light on her body had dimmed, and she looked tired. This won't do. I haven't recovered my strength yet. Moreover, I broke the seal early and my soul was injured. Even that move just now made me feel a little weak. Mu Yu looked down at Zhou Fu's running figure and thought, if I let him go today, I'm afraid I won't have peace in the future. I must keep him here. Her thoughts churned, and a light flashed in her eyes. Since he absorbed the spiritual energy of our clansmen, perhaps. As if thinking of something, Mu Yu's face became slightly excited. If that's really the case, then my loss this time was worth it. Mu Yu's face flashed with a resolute expression. She suddenly separated the ball of light in her hands. At this moment, she was holding 9 threads in each hand. Go! With a wave of her hands, 18 shadows fell around Zhou Fu. Kacha! Kacha! Thick vines spread out from the shadows, and in an instant, a black circular wall appeared. Zhou Fu was surrounded in the middle. Mu Yu's face suddenly paled, and the light on her body trembled as if it would be extinguished at any time. It's time to end this quickly. Zhou Fu looked up at the sky and saw a young girl with green light all over her body. No, it was the Mother Tree Demon. Outsider, since you've destroyed my village, I'll turn you into a monster. Zhou Fu looked at the tree demon 3 feet away from him vigilantly. He thought to himself, it's a big boss, and it has a name. And what is a demon? A kind of puppet? Although he was surprised, Zhou Fu was not stunned. He knew the principle of capturing the leader first. After a short period of healing, although his injuries were not completely healed, they were almost healed. At this moment, seeing the tree demon close the distance between him and himself, he swung the chain in his hand. Humph! When Mu Yu saw Zhou Fu make his move, she snorted coldly. With a tug of her hands, the green thread in her hands tightened, and she dodged the chain that was whipping towards her. Let's see how long you can hold on. Mu Yu's eyes flashed coldly. She did not believe that Zhou Fu was unharmed. He must be fighting with the pain in his body. Roar. With a roar, Zhou Fu saw 18 black tree demons rushing towards him. Good, you guys can practice. Before he upgraded the Wisdom King scripture, these tree demons were just monsters that gave him experience. Although he was injured now, the surging power in his body was not fake. Crash! Zhou Fu swung the chain in his hand, and in a flash of lightning, it wrapped around a tree demon's branch. With a sudden burst of strength in his arm, Zhou Fu leaped into the air and quickly arrived in front of the tree demon. Kill! He punched out with his right fist, and with a bang, a big hole appeared in the tree demon's trunk. Roar! Amidst the panicked and painful roar, the tree demon exploded. The light green threads that were connected to the tree demon also broke instantly. Mu Yu, who was floating in the air, paled, and the coldness on her face increased. Kill him! The remaining 17 threads in her hand vibrated one after another, and the tree demons on the ground also waved their hard branches at Zhou Fu. At the same time, the tree roots that were as sharp as spears pierced through the ground, restricting Zhou Fu's range of movement. As time passed, Mu Yu's aura became more and more weak. Under the siege of the tree demons, Zhou Fu was not only unharmed, but the range of his counterattacks was also getting stronger. Seeing this, Mu Yu was shocked and angry, and a trace of panic appeared in her heart. Is this person a monster? Mu Yu stared at Zhou Fu's figure angrily as he dodged the attacks. No, I can't let this drag on any longer. A determined look appeared in her eyes, as if she had made some important decision. A green light bloomed, and a ball of light floated out from Mu Yu's body. Go! On the ground, Zhou Fu felt something and suddenly raised his head. What is this thing? A strong sense of danger rose in his heart. Dodge! Facing the branches, he did not continue to dodge, but took the attack head-on and turned to run. Run? Do you think you can run? Mu Yu's face was deathly pale as she watched Zhou Fu being stopped by the 17 trants with their lives on the line. Seeing that there was no hope of dodging, Zhou Fu's body burst with golden light and punched through a tree demon. At the same time, he waved the chain and lashed out. Boom! Ancestral Hall. Zhang Yao looked in the direction of the loud noise and the light blooming in the night sky and murmured, Good guy. He even used the wood spear explosion. This bastard Zhou Fu is really terrifying, but it's just what I want. Crack! He turned his head and looked at the stone statue beside him. The cracks on the stone statue had deepened, giving a feeling that it would shatter at any time. Good, good. Zhang Yao's face was wild with joy. Zhou Fu, work harder. In the field, Zhou Fu staggered out of the pit. The golden light on his body dimmed a lot. His clothes were torn, and there were bloodstains on his exposed skin. The chain in his hand was also broken, and he could not summon it for a while. What a powerful move. In a flash, Zhou Fu arrived in front of the struggling tree demon and killed it with a punch. Then, he quietly absorbed the spiritual energy that drifted out. Bastard! Mu Yu gritted her teeth and stared at Zhou Fu. He dared to kill her people in front of her and absorb their spiritual energy. Die! She waved her right hand, and 2 green lights shot out. Zhou Fu sneered and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. How many times have you said this sentence? Don't you find it annoying? The green light passed through Zhou Fu's figure, and 2 holes appeared on the ground behind him. Zhou Fu appeared next to another tree demon. Mu Yu's move just now had crippled all the tree demons that surrounded Zhou Fu. At this moment, they were all lying on the ground. For Zhou Fu, they were ready-made healing medicine. Seeing Zhou Fu kill another tree demon, Mu Yu couldn't help but rush toward Zhou Fu. Stop! Her palms flashed with green light, and a long sword appeared. Then, she stabbed toward Zhou Fu's temple. You finally came down. Zhou Fu turned his head and looked at Mu Yu, who was rushing towards him. He grinned and threw out a punch. Golden fist light collided with her. Bang! Both of them were sent flying backward. Zhou Fu borrowed the momentum to approach one of the tree demons. Amidst the tree demon's desperate roar, Zhou Fu punched his fist into the tree trunk. Then, a surge of power erupted, instantly tearing the already broken trunk apart. Seeing this scene, Muyu trembled with anger. She kept rushing toward Zhou Fu, but the opponent's strength was too strong. Every time, the two of them retreated. No, Zhou Fu should be retreating on purpose. After more than 10 moves, there were only 5 tree demons left on the ground. They could see that Muyu couldn't take down Zhou Fu in a short time, so they could only be the ones injured. Thus, the remaining tree demons supported each other and ran away despite their heavy injuries. Along the way, broken wood was scattered all over the ground. Muyu roared at the sky. When she looked at Zhou Fu again, 2 streams of tears flowed from her eyes. I, Muyu, have lived for 300 years, and this is the first time I want to kill someone so badly. You are very good. 300 years. Zhou Fu was stunned for a moment, but on second thought, there was no problem. After all, she was a demon, and a tree demon at that. It was normal for her to live longer. 300 years is all you've got. Zhou Fu sneered. What do you know? Muyu said coldly. If I hadn't been schemed against by you sinister human villains, would I be as arrogant as you today? The more Muyu spoke, the angrier she became. What happened back then, and what happened today, all surfaced in her mind. Zhou Fu shook his head. You were schemed against. That's your problem. What does it have to do with me? You killed my people and extracted their spiritual energy. Today, I will let you know what pain is. Extract spiritual energy? Zhou Fu was stunned. Was she talking about the cooling energy that nourished his body? So it was called spiritual energy. Muyu's figure rose into the air again, pulling away from Zhou Fu. The long sword in her hand disappeared, and then a disc emitting a green light floated in front of her. She glared at Zhou Fu angrily, raised her hand, and slammed the disc in front of her. Explode! Zhou Fu, who was on full alert, trembled. His face was full of shock. In his body, rays of green light appeared and merged with each other. Then they turned into small branches and took root in his body. Intense pain came, and a layer of cold sweat appeared on Zhou Fu's forehead. What the hell is this? He hurriedly channeled his inner strength and pressed it against the branches. In midair, Muyu's figure swayed, and the disc in her hand disappeared. Her figure also fell. Smack! She lost her balance and fell to the ground. Muyu gasped for breath. A branch rose up and propped her weak body up. She closed her eyes and planted the roots deep into the ground, trying to recover the energy in her body. In the ancestral hall, crack! Bang! More than half of the stone statue shattered. A small tree embedded in the stone was crystal clear, shining brightly. It was very beautiful. Ha ha! Zhou Fu! Amazing! Amazing! Zhang Yao stared at the small green tree and laughed crazily. After a long time, he stopped laughing. Suddenly, he slammed his palm on his chest. With a crack, his sternum broke. A large amount of black blood spurted out from his mouth and splashed on the small tree. Sizzle! The moment the black blood came into contact with the small tree, white smoke rose up. It was like pouring cold water on a red-hot iron. Resist? You still have some strength left. Zhang Yao's expression was ferocious. He spurted out more blood, and soon the small tree was covered in blood. At the same time, his lower body had turned into a tree trunk, and a large number of roots extended out. Whoosh! The roots entwined with each other and wrapped around the small tree. Zhang Yao turned to look at the village and roared. Kill! Continue to kill! Boom! The golden light smashed the green light away. Zhou Fu's figure appeared. There were many small wounds on his skin, and blood was constantly oozing out. It was a horrifying sight. What the hell is this? Zhou Fu roared angrily. The small branches in his body were very tough. It took a lot of effort to destroy them. Based on the current situation, even if he was hollowed out, he would not be able to destroy them all. There were too many of them. Muyu snorted coldly. She looked a lot worse. In order to block Zhou Fu's fist, one of her arms had been broken. What great strength! However, so what if he was strong? If he could not use it, he would be useless. Suddenly, Muyu felt a wave of energy that made her heart palpitate. She turned to look at the ancestral hall. She was a little stunned, and her expression was one of disbelief. How dare he bang? A fist shining with golden light sent Mu Yu flying. Zhou Fu chased after her in a flash, and his fists bombarded her continuously. The light on Mu Yu's body trembled, as if it would shatter at any moment. You dare to be distracted when fighting with me? Go to hell. Cold killing intent filled the air. Zhou Fu's fist shone with golden light. Oh, bastard! Stop it! Under the constant attacks, Mu Yu screamed. Bastard! You are all bastards. Through her mind, Mu Yu already knew what was happening. Zhang Yao, who was like a bug in her eyes, was actually devouring her body. Zhou Fu would not wait for her. Facing a strange enemy like Mu Yu, the most important thing was to kill her. Seeing that Zhou Fu did not stop and that his attacks were getting stronger and stronger, in the distant ancestral hall, the stones on the stone statue shattered even faster. Mu Yu's stomach took a few punches, and the surging force made her mouth and nose bleed. Bastard, if you don't stop now, both of us will die. Zhou Fu had already noticed that something was wrong with Mu Yu. He thought that it was caused by the exhaustion of energy. Now that he heard her say that, he hesitated for a moment, and then stopped and retreated. Bang! Mu Yu crashed to the ground. She ignored Zhou Fu and rushed toward the ancestral hall in a flash of green light. Chapter 238. Feeling Mu Yu's anger and anxiety, Zhou Fu's heart skipped a beat. As the saying goes, a man can't be rich without a windfall. Since there's an opportunity, he should take a risk. Feeling the current state of his body, as well as the amount of energy in his yang wheel and sea of qi wheel. If I can fight, then I'll run. Zhou Fu shook his body. The branches that were close to the important parts of his body had been cleared. Although the remaining branches would affect his attacks, and dodging to a certain extent, he could still escape. Zhou Fu's feet suddenly exerted force, and he used his movement skill to chase after Mu Yu. Mu Yu, who was rushing ahead, sensed that Zhou Fu had caught up with her. Although she was angry, there was nothing she could do. She could only curse in her heart. Damn it! All humans should die. At this time, the person she hated the most in her heart had changed from Zhou Fu to Zhang Yao. What made her even angrier was that both of them were humans. Oh, Zhang Yao was a human not long ago. He had only been transformed into a tree demon for a short time, and she had not recognized him as one of her kind. Rushing to the ancestral hall, Mu Yu shot out a green light, and in an instant, the new roof that was covering the stone statue shattered. Ha ha ha! Lord Mu Yu, what a temper! Zhang Yao's figure walked out of the smoke. Whoosh! Two black lights broke through the ground and pierced towards Mu Yu. Bastard! Zhang Yao, how dare you? After seeing Zhang Yao's appearance, Mu Yu trembled with anger. Facing the oncoming attack, she took out a disc and smashed it down. The disc bloomed with a dazzling light, and Zhang Yao's attack was instantly defeated. Not only that, the green light continued to crush Zhang Yao. Lord Mu Yu, calm down. In a while, we will merge into one. Zhang Yao smiled sinisterly and stretched out his hand to support a layer of black and green light. Boom! After the disc hit the light, the two types of energy collided with each other, and an explosion occurred. The shockwave caused the ground to shatter, and even the wall behind Zhang Yao that was originally enshrined with the stone statue collapsed. At this time, Zhou Fu landed on the ground. When he saw Zhang Yao's appearance, he was stunned. At this time, Zhang Yao was still in human form, except for half of his face. The rest of his body was made up of black twigs. In the middle of his chest, there was a small green tree. Seeing Zhou Fu coming over, Zhang Yao laughed arrogantly. Ha! Isn't this Zhou Fu? Before he finished speaking, a black rattan, like a black python, rattan Zhou Fu. I haven't seen you for a long time. Zhou Fu snorted coldly and sent the rattan flying with a punch. He sneered and said, Your appearance is quite peculiar. You don't want to be a human completely? Zhou Fu's heart trembled as he felt the strength coming from the rattan. Why is the strength? A human? You? Mu Yu Yu. Zhang Yao's expression became more and more ferocious. Even his voice became hoarse as he spoke. Mu Yu took advantage of Zhang Yao's distraction. The disc in her hand glowed with green light. Her face tensed up, and small green discs appeared around her. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The discs moved, creating streaks of green light in the air. They whistled through the air and crashed toward Zhang Yao. Just before the collision, a layer of light emerged and covered Zhang Yao inside. Master Muyue, why do you have to do this? We'll be fusing soon, said Zhang Yao as he watched the green light explode on the barrier in front of him. Even though the barrier was shaking violently, it couldn't hurt him at all. At the same time, he greedily looked at the disc in Muyu's hand and said, "Don't waste your energy. Be careful not to break my things." Zhang Yao completely ignored Muyu and even treated her things as his own. Muyu was so angry that she roared at the sky. Seeing that Zhang Yao's light barrier didn't break under Muyu's attack, Zhou Fu was curious. Was it really that hard? He wanted to try. With a flash of golden light, Zhou Fu rushed to Zhang Yao's side. He raised his fist and smashed it down. Bang! In front of Zhang Yao's shocked eyes, the light shield in front of him suddenly caved in, but the light shield was still there. It did not break. It's that hard? It didn't break? Zhou Fu retracted his fist and looked at the light barrier in a daze. Seeing that Zhou Fu had retreated, Zhang Yao subconsciously felt that his mouth was dry. He wanted to swallow his saliva, but he didn't have a human body. There was no way he could swallow his saliva. Even so, he still subconsciously swallowed his saliva. What do you want? After seeing Zhou Fu's strength, Zhang Yao suddenly didn't have much confidence. Nothing. I just saw that this thing was really hard and wanted to give it a try. Zhang Yao was speechless. You must be bored. Aren't you injured? Why don't you leave before I attack you? Zhou Fu, I didn't expect you to be so arrogant today. Zhang Yao's heart skipped a beat. He couldn't let Zhou Fu team up with Muyu. After all, Zhou Fu didn't have a bottom line. He was so strong back then, but he still came to deal with their family of 3. He was shameless. He had to get rid of him. He said fiercely, Zhou Fu, you're still injured, right? If you want to die, I'll kill you even if I lose a third of my wood spirit. Facing the threat, Zhou Fu wasn't moved. Instead, he was more interested in the wood spirit. He pointed at the small tree on Zhang Yao's chest and asked, "This thing is the wood spirit you speak of? Is it important?" Before Zhang Yao could say anything, Muyu couldn't take it anymore. What did he mean by yours and his? It was clearly hers. No, it was only after the current Muyu fused with the wood spirit that she became a complete Muyu. The Muyu standing here now was only Muyu's main body and part of her wood spirit. Looking at the 2 humans she loathed, Muyu snorted. That's right, that was my wood spirit, and now it's been stolen by this shameless thief. Zhang Yao laughed. Lord Muyu is wrong. What do you mean by yours and mine? In a while, we won't be talking about yours. Before he could finish, he saw a flash of golden light from the corner of his eyes. He stopped talking and looked at Zhou Fu with vigilance. Why are you spouting so much nonsense? Who cares if it works or not? I just want to see how hard this tortoise shell on your body is. Zhou Fu's figure flashed and punched again. When the fist collided with the light barrier, Zhou Fu's terrifying power instantly exploded out, causing the air barrier to cave in once again. This time, the extent of the impact was even more exaggerated. Circles of white ripples formed and started to vibrate. Zhang Yao looked at the fist that was right in front of him. His entire being was stunned. If Zhou Fu's strength had been just a bit stronger, it would have hit him in the face. In addition to being shocked, Zhang Yao also felt very angry. He roared, and the ground around him shattered. Black tree roots broke out of the ground and stabbed toward Zhou Fu. After another fruitless attack, Zhou Fu retreated. Zhou Fu, do you really think I don't dare to kill you? Zhang Yao roared. Zhou Fu shrugged. This thing is really hard. I can't break it. You guys have fun. I'm leaving. Zhou Fu didn't want to participate in what happened next, mainly because there was nothing to gain. Just as Zhou Fu was about to turn around, Muyu spoke. I see that you and Zhang Yao are enemies, right? If you leave now, aren't you afraid that he will take revenge? Zhou Fu looked at Muyu. He knew what she was thinking. She just wanted to use him to get rid of Zhang Yao. He smiled and said, You're right. I do have a deep grudge with Zhang Yao, but so what? Zhang Yao and Muyu were stunned. Zhou Fu said, Even if Zhang Yao's plan succeeds and his strength increases, I am no match for him. So what? Can he still go out and hunt me down? Zhang Yao looked at Zhou Fu in surprise. Mu Yu trembled. Although I don't know what happened between you strange creatures and the current government, I can guess. You can't just go out, right? As Zhou Fu spoke, Mu Yu's expression darkened. Zhang Yao looked at Mu Yu. Zhou Fu continued, if Zhang Yao was human, maybe I would have a headache or run away. But he's just a demon now. Let him go to Ning'an City and try. If he can reach the city gate, I'll consider him strong. Before, he was weak and didn't do anything out of line. But now it's different. His strength is about to increase. Naturally, he can't be allowed to do anything. Mu Yu was silent. A panicked expression appeared on Zhang Yao's face. He had become like this for the sake of power. Couldn't he take revenge with his own hands? Mu Yu, is what he said true? Mu Yu's face was gloomy. Seeing that she couldn't deceive Zhou Fu, she nodded angrily and said with a gloating tone, yes, what Zhou Fu said is true. Even if you devour my wood spirit, you won't be able to walk out of this village, let alone take revenge. Why? Zhang Yao roared when he got the answer. His power burst out uncontrollably, and circles of shock wave shattered the debris around him. Why? Mu Yu sneered. Because there are many people outside who can kill you. Is that reason enough? The straightforward answer made Zhang Yao's face turn hideous. He couldn't understand or accept it. Seeing Zhang Yao showing signs of madness, Mu Yu continued to provoke him. What's the use of being angry? Even when I was at my peak, I didn't dare to do anything. It's good enough that I can guard this village. You want to go out and take revenge? Huh, dream on. Oh, seeing Zhang Yao roar, Mu Yu laughed very happily. Zhou Fu shrugged. He didn't want to watch the show. After all, the branches in his body hadn't been cleaned out. All right, it's getting late. A young person like me can't stay up late. Otherwise, it'll hurt my body. I'm leaving. Seeing that Zhou Fu was about to turn and leave, Mu Yu was secretly anxious. If Zhou Fu left, she would definitely die today. So, she rolled her eyes, and a plan came to her mind. She called out to Zhou Fu again. Zhou Fu, do you want to make a deal? Chapter 239. A deal. Zhou Fu's heart skipped a beat. He looked at Mu Yu. Interesting. Tell me. From Zhou Fu's expression, Mu Yu could see that he was interested. She was happy and resentful at the same time. She was happy because she saw a glimmer of hope. She was resentful because today's situation could be said to be caused by Zhou Fu, and she had to pay a large sum of money for it. The injury in your body was caused by the explosion of what attributes spiritual energy. I can cure it for you as long as you... What are you doing? Before Mu Yu could finish her words, she saw Zhou Fu turn around and leave. She was shocked and hurriedly shouted. Zhou Fu looked at Mu Yu with a sinister smile and said, rather than calling this a deal, it's better to say that you're buying your life with money. If you don't show some sincerity, I have to go back to sleep. I won't waste time here. You. Mu Yu stared at Zhou Fu angrily. At this time, the joy in her heart disappeared, leaving only hatred. Although she didn't want to admit it, Zhou Fu was telling the truth. What do you want? Finally, Mu Yu squeezed out these words from between her teeth. Looking at the expression of the enemy who had just beaten him up so badly, Zhou Fu felt quite comfortable. You were the one who stopped me. Don't look like I'm threatening you. Mu Yu suppressed the anger in her heart. Her mind was spinning crazily, calculating what she could take out. On the one hand, she wanted to satisfy Zhou Fu. On the other hand, she wanted to minimize her losses as much as possible. Zhou Fu. Zhang Yao spoke up after everyone had quietened down. I don't want to say this, but Mu Yu doesn't have anything good on her now. You can go back now. As Zhang Yao spoke, Mu Yu grew anxious. Zhou Fu, who had been paying attention to the expressions of the two, was overjoyed. This Zhang Yao was something. He almost put the word teammate on his head. Mu Yu was anxious. Suddenly, a light flashed in her heart. She really did have something to take out, but when she was about to say it, she hesitated. Although that thing was dispensable to Mu Yu, it wasn't the same for Zhou Fu. If she gave that thing away, wouldn't Zhou Fu kill her after killing Zhang Yao? At this time, Mu Yu's expression changed and Zhou Fu saw it. Could it be that there was something good in the hands of this tree demon? If there was something good, why didn't she use it to kill him? Or kill Zhang Yao now? Seeing Mu Yu was still hesitating, Zhou Fu said to Zhang Yao, "Maybe, but what can you do? If it was really something good, why didn't you use it?" He's Zhang Yao? Hearing that Zhou Fu was going to leave, Zhang Yao was happy at first. But when he heard that Zhou Fu would not see him again, his mood fell again. His family was gone, and he had abandoned his identity as a human. Now that he had the power, he couldn't take revenge. This made him very uncomfortable and confused. The Book of Martial Arts. Seeing Zhou Fu's surprised look, Mu Yu hesitated for a moment, and her eyes flashed. Zhou Fu took 2 steps back and looked at Mu Yu vigilantly. At this time, Mu Yu's voice sounded in his ear, "Zhou Fu, don't be nervous. There are some things that you can't let Zhang Yao know. Later, I will use the communication method to send you some information about the Book of Martial Arts. As for whether it is worth it or not, you can decide for yourself." As soon as her voice disappeared, a green light shot toward Zhou Fu. Zhou Fu's eyes flashed. He thought for a moment and chose to believe her. The moment the light came into contact with Zhou Fu, a message appeared in his mind. Zhou Fu, who was shocked by Mu Yu's silent voice transmission method and communication method, read the message. After reading the message, his calm expression surged like a huge wave. This thing, how can there be such a thing? Zhou Fu was so excited that he wanted to shout, but he held it back. He glanced at Mu Yu and found that the corners of her mouth were slightly raised, and she looked very confident. However, Zhou Fu guessed that although Mu Yu knew about the value of the Book of Martial Arts, she didn't know how important it was to him. The so-called Book of Martial Arts was not a profound martial arts secret manual, but a teaching method of martial arts. It was full of ideas and summaries of concepts. The incomplete message that Mu Yu sent just happened to correspond to the problem that Zhou Fu was facing, which was the use of sure. Zhou Fu digested the information and said, "This thing is not bad. Where did you get it?" Seeing that Zhou Fu was interested, the corners of Mu Yu's mouth curled up. She said, "You don't need to know where I got it. How about it? What do you think of this deal?" Zhou Fu smiled. "Do I have a reason to refuse?" Zhang Yao, who was listening to the conversation, was shocked. Although he didn't know what Mu Yu had paid, it must be very precious. "No, I have to break up their cooperation." After Zhang Yao made up his mind, he said to Zhou Fu, "Do you really want to get involved in this mess?" Seeing Zhou Fu turn around, he continued, "You just said that the enmity between us is over. I can't go out, and you won't come back. We'll mind our own business. What else do you want?" Zhou Fu thought for a moment and nodded at Zhang Yao, agreeing with his words. Then he said to Mu Yu, "You heard it. Zhang Yao's words are reasonable." Hearing Zhou Fu's words, Mu Yu's face became gloomy. She cursed in her heart, "Bastard, this damn Zhou Fu, he's threatening me. He wants me to take out more things." So she asked in a deep voice, "What do you want?" "Let me tell you, even if Zhang Yao succeeds today, he won't know about those things." She wanted to let Zhou Fu know that she was the only one who knew about the Book of Martial Arts. If she died, there would be nothing left. Zhou Fu certainly understood Mu Yu's thoughts, and he was very sure that Zhang Yao wouldn't give it to him even if he got it. Even if he gave it to him, whether the content was real or not was a problem. Zhou Fu said, "There's no problem with the deal. Give me a complete copy of that thing." "Impossible. What if you turn around and leave after I give it to you?" Mu Yu refused on the spot. "If you want it, we can work together to kill Zhang Yao." "Work together?" Zhou Fu sneered. At the same time, he raised his hand and broke a branch that was whipping towards him with a punch. "What can you do with your current strength? If you give it to me, I might be able to comprehend something and then break that barrier." Then Zhou Fu turned to look at the gloomy Zhang Yao and said, "Don't worry, I'll find you after I finish talking with Mu Yu." "Zhou Fu, you deserve to die." Zhang Yao's eyes were about to burst with anger. Even when he was forced to escape from Ning'an City, he didn't hate Zhou Fu so much. But there was nothing he could do. With his current strength, he couldn't kill Zhou Fu. Holding back his anger, Zhang Yao crazily urged his strength to speed up the devouring of the small tree in his chest. Mu Yu, who was on the side, also felt a little anxious. She couldn't just wait like this. Otherwise, even if she killed Zhang Yao and took back the wood spirit, her vitality would be greatly damaged. At that time, there would be a covetous Zhou Fu next to her. The situation wouldn't be any better than now. Among the three, Zhou Fu was the least anxious. Not only was he in a good mood, but he also took advantage of the time to absorb some of the contents of the book of martial arts. The information that Mu Yu sent him just now was about Sure. The book of martial arts was a textbook that clearly described the origin and development of Sure. In the middle, there were some summaries of concepts, and at the end, there were suggestions for further development. The information that Mu Yu sent to Zhou Fu was about development, and that was it. Learning new knowledge gave Zhou Fu a new idea about his own state. He raised his hand, and a golden light flashed. Then, the light slowly converged and faded. Then, it tightly adhered to the surface of Zhou Fu's skin. His entire arm seemed to be cast in gold. Interesting. Looking at the changes in his arm, Zhou Fu's face revealed a smile. He could clearly feel that his arm was stronger than before. Is this the power of knowledge? Zhou Fu muttered to himself. The two people on the side looked at Zhou Fu's change in amazement. They looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. Zhang Yao's expression changed when he saw the change in Zhou Fu. Then, he connected it to the conversation between Mu Yu and Zhou Fu. He had already guessed that the deal that Mu Yu wanted to make with Zhou Fu was the reason for Zhou Fu's change. No, I can't let the deal continue. Otherwise, I'll be in trouble. Zhang Yao's heart steeled. In these few minutes, his strength had increased again, so he decided to take the initiative. Die! Zhang Yao's eyes were filled with killing intent. With a wave of his hand, a black light broke through the ground and shot toward Zhou Fu. The sudden change woke Mu Yu up. Be careful! As she shouted, the black light had already arrived in front of Zhou Fu. Mu Yu was very anxious and even wanted to go to the rescue. Seeing that the attack was about to land on Zhou Fu, a cruel smile appeared on Zhang Yao's face. Pa! There was a crisp sound. The black light was caught by a golden arm. Zhang Yao, are you in such a hurry to die? Zhou Fu's cold gaze pierced Zhang Yao. Zhang Yao looked at the tree root in shock. You become stronger again? How is that possible? The power of the black light was at least 3 times stronger than when Zhou Fu and Mu Yu had just arrived at the ancestral hall. According to Zhou Fu's previous performance, even if it couldn't hurt him, it should have been able to force Zhou Fu back. However, neither of those things happened. Become stronger? Zhou Fu shook his head. It's not that easy. I already have this power, but he didn't continue and turned to Mu Yu. Mu Yu, what do you think? Chapter 240. What should she choose? Mu Yu looked at Zhou Fu without saying a word. She was still calculating the gains and losses in her heart. She was a little regretful now. She did not expect that the information transmitted as a sample would change Zhou Fu so much. To give or not to give? In the silent atmosphere, Zhang Yao could no longer hold it in. Looking at Zhou Fu's golden arm, he did not dare to let Zhou Fu and Mu Yu continue to trade in secret. Otherwise, who knew what would happen later? Pa pa pa! A series of explosions sounded in the air. 5 black tree roots broke through the ground and whipped toward Zhou Fu. Zhou Fu's palm suddenly exerted force. With a bang, the tree root in his hand exploded, and the rest of it quickly retracted. Facing the overwhelming attack, his feet constantly moved, flashing back and forth between the tree roots. At the same time, his other arm also turned golden. The golden palms continued to bombard the tree roots, and surging waves of power burst out. After dozens of attacks, the tree roots were all broken, and Zhou Fu was not hurt at all. Mu Yu, Zhou Fu shouted, have you thought about it? My patience is limited. Zhou Fu. Without waiting for Mu Yu to speak, Zhang Yao was furious. He thought that he was Zhou Fu's opponent, but the latter actually treated him like air. This made Zhang Yao, who hated Zhou Fu to the core, even more unbearable. You bastard, you are still so arrogant. Zhang Yao's eyes turned black and red, and his body continued to grow. The half of his face that was originally human quickly turned into that of a tree demon. At this moment, he no longer looked human. Dong dong. The small green tree embedded in Zhang Yao's chest suddenly shook like a beating heart, and it even emitted a circle of transparent ripples. Looking down at Zhou Fu and Mu Yu, Zhang Yao spoke. His voice was extremely hoarse, like wood scraping against each other. It was very uncomfortable. Zhou Fu, I should thank you. If you didn't force me, I might not have been able to devour the wood spirit so quickly. Zhang Yao's tone suddenly revealed a hint of joy. Also, there seems to be a problem with your cultivation method. Apart from Zhou Fu's arms, the other parts of his body didn't stop emitting light. Zhou Fu still ignored Zhang Yao, even though Zhang Yao's strength seemed to have increased a lot. He said to Mu Yu, "Look, even Zhang Yao saw it. What are you still hesitating for? I'm taking your things and doing your thing. If you can't even understand this, then I don't have to." Mu Yu opened her mouth in shock. According to what Zhou Fu said, that was indeed the case. He did take her things, and did he do what he wanted. However, even though he thought so, he still felt that something was off. 10 breaths. If you don't give me an answer in 10 breaths, then I'll take my leave, Zhou Fu said coldly, then dodged the attack from the sky. You want to leave? Zhang Yao, who was in the sky, was unhappy. Now, the other party didn't even take him seriously. Zhou Fu, what do you think this is? Do you think you can come and go as you please? Today, neither of you can leave. The attack emitting a black light came again. From the sound of it breaking through the air, Zhou Fu sensed that Zhang Yao's strength had increased again. She improved so quickly. Zhou Fu was still secretly shocked. At this rate, he would only be able to run for his life in another 10 minutes. After dodging 3 attacks, Zhou Fu saw that Mu Yu was still hesitating. He snorted coldly. Mu Yu, time's up. Mu Yu, who was reminded, trembled. First, she looked up at Zhang Yao, her eyes filled with crazy hatred. Then, she turned to Zhou Fu, her eyes filled with unwillingness. I'll give it to you. The green light flashed again, and Zhou Fu got the information he wanted. Seeing the two of them trading unscrupulously under his nose, Zhang Yao roared. Zhou Fu, even if you got it, so what? I don't believe you can soar to the sky in such a short time. Die. More than 10 roots with black light came out from the bottom of the trunk under Zhang Yao and whipped down with great force. A golden light flashed in Zhou Fu's eyes as he felt the pressure coming from above his head. He said with a mocking expression, "Knowledge is power. Perhaps you will never understand this sentence." A shadow flashed, and Zhang Yao's attack came down. Boom! Under the whipping of the tree branches, the stone tiles of the ancestral hall suddenly shattered. Zhou Fu appeared again and stepped on a root. He murmured, "It's still too short. If only I had 10 more minutes." Mu Yu, who had been paying attention to Zhou Fu's condition, heard Zhou Fu's murmur. Although she didn't know how long 10 minutes was, she knew clearly that if she delayed any longer, she would be dead for sure. "Zhou Fu," Mu Yu shouted, "in another 15 minutes, Zhang Yao will be able to devour my wood spirit. By then, his strength will increase to extraordinary level 3, and I'll be dead for sure. But you can't leave either." A determined look appeared in Mu Yu's eyes. She gritted her teeth, took out the green disc again, and raised it high. Dazzling light bloomed from Mu Yu's body. Even the wood spirit in Zhang Yao's chest was flowing energy to Mu Yu. "What are you doing? This is all mine." Zhang Yao roared in exasperation. He had already regarded the wood spirit as his own. Now that he felt that Mu Yu could still extract energy from it, he was shocked and angry. "Mu Yu, you're courting death." The light on Mu Yu's body became more and more dazzling. She also heard Zhang Yao's roar. She said coldly, "Die? Ha! If the two of you don't come out on top today, neither of you can leave." The light on her body suddenly surged toward the disc in her hand. She shouted, "Soulwood chain." She slammed her hands on the ground. Rumble. The ground shook. With the disc as the center, lines emitting green light appeared on the ground. In an instant, the entire village was enveloped. At the same time, 2 marks formed in the void and rushed into Zhou Fu and Zhang Yao's bodies. "Mu Yu, what did you do?" Black light flowed all over Zhang Yao's body as he searched for the strange mark. However, no matter how hard he searched, he couldn't find it. Zhou Fu's face was also gloomy. He didn't even care about absorbing the knowledge of the book of martial arts. He also searched for abnormalities in his body, but the result was the same. He couldn't find anything wrong. At this time, Mu Yu's face was extremely pale. There was no trace of blood. Even the light on her body had faded. Her body was on the verge of collapse, and she could fall at any time. However, on her face, there was a look of vengeance. Ha ha, you too. Mu Yu stretched out her trembling hand and pointed at Zhang Yao and Zhou Fu. What are you laughing about? Go to hell, bitch. Zhang Yao roared. The black tree root tore through the air and attacked. Zhou Fu's eyes moved slightly. He stood still in the same place. Bang! The tree root passed through Mu Yu and hit the ground with a bang. However, the ground was still intact. Zhou Fu's face revealed a strange expression. He had clearly seen the tree root pass through Mu Yu's body. It was as if it had passed through the void, and then it hit the ground. Mu Yu looked at Zhang Yao with a mocking smile. Impossible! Zhang Yao roared. He couldn't believe what was happening. Whoosh! 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 The sound of breaking air rang out. A group of tree roots connected together and attacked Mu Yu. Even the tree roots that attacked Zhou Fu were mixed in. Boom! Sure enough, the large group of tree roots still hit the ground. Apart from the sound being louder than before, there was no difference. What kind of sorcery is this? Zhang Yao's face showed a look of horror. The situation in front of him was beyond his understanding. Sorcery? I am a member of the spiritual wood tribe. I am what you call a tree demon. So what if I know some sorcery? Mu Yu mocked. As for what happened, of course I will tell you. At this time, Zhou Fu's expression changed. He suddenly rose into the air. In a short time, Zhou Fu had changed several places. However, every time he changed places, his face turned uglier. Mu Yu turned to look at Zhou Fu and sneered. Don't waste your energy. This is the soul wood chain. The two parties connected by the chain will extract the power of the weaker party, convert it through the formation, and then transfer it to the stronger party until one of them dies. After hearing Mu Yu's explanation, Zhou Fu stopped and frowned. So, I am the weak party? At this moment, Zhang Yao landed on the ground and laughed maniacally. He could feel a surge of pure energy entering his body. Ha ha, Zhou Fu, you also have a day like this. Zhang Yao laughed very happily. Even the branches on his body began to shake. I told you to leave just now, but you didn't. You insisted on making a deal with Mu Yu. Now, you have beaten yourself into it. A man who is never content is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. Zhang Yao said and laughed wildly. Then, he looked at Zhou Fu fiercely. This is the price of greed. Strength is not fixed. Mu Yu said, injuries can also make the strong party the weak party. What a sinister method. After Mu Yu's explanation and his own situation, Zhou Fu instantly understood his situation. No matter what, Zhang Yao must die today. With a flash of golden light, he instantly appeared beside Zhang Yao. His golden arms were like two large spears and suddenly stabbed at Zhang Yao. Boom! The light shield shook. Zhang Yao's face changed dramatically. His eyes widened. After seeing the attacker, he sneered, What's the matter? You're anxious now? When you imprisoned my family, did you think you would have a day like this? Zhou Fu ignored him. In order to not let his strength continue to drain, he no longer held back. Kill! With a thunderous voice, his golden right arm suddenly struck out. The originally abnormally strong light shield was instantly covered with cracks. Then with a bang it exploded. How? Before Zhang Yao's sneer fell, the situation in front of him made his expression freeze. Chapter 241. Impossible. Zhou Fu sneered and punched Zhang Yao's head. The huge force instantly smashed Zhang Yao's head into pieces and sent him flying. I was in a good mood just now and want to play house with you. UF King took it seriously. Zhou Fuyan got up and caught up with Zhang Yao in an instant. His pair of golden fists kept bombarding Zhang Yao's body with violent attacks. Boom! After dozens of punches, Zhang Yao had lost a lot of weight and looked like a normal person. Even so, Zhang Yao still took more than 10 punches for Zhou Fu. Zhou Fu punched Zhang Yao and sent him flying. Bang, bang, bang. After Zhang Yao landed, he kept rolling until the force of the punches dissipated. Hee hee. Zhou Fu. Zhang Yao stood up. The black light on his body surged, and branches wrapped around his body again. You just SOSO. At this time, Mu Yu said to Zhou Fu, what you're doing is useless. You can only break the connection between Zhang Yao and the wood spirit. Then you can destroy his body and finally destroy his wood spirit. Only then can you truly kill him. A wave of dizziness came, and Mu Yu's body swayed twice before falling to the ground. However, she did not panic and continued to say to Zhou Fu, your current attack will only increase the speed at which he absorbs the wood spirit. At the same time, Zhou Fu's face became even worse. He just felt a surge of energy coming from his feet. However, in the next moment, he found that the energy in his body began to drain away. Was this a F***king joke? What the hell was that with spirit? Zhou Fu's eyes flashed coldly. He said in a deep voice, Mu Yu, tell me the method of absorbing wood spirit. Mu Yu was stunned for a moment and immediately refused. Impossible. Zhou Fu, don't even think about it. What kind of joke was this? How could such a thing come from a mouth of wood spirit? What was he trying to do? Was he trying to force her to betray her race? Cut the crap. Zhou Fu coldly snorted, those damn things in my body can't make me use my full strength. You don't think it's easy for me to deal with Zhang Yao, do you? Mu Yu hesitated, her face full of struggle. Hurry up. Zhou Fu dodged the two attacks and rushed toward Zhang Yao. His golden fist once again sent Zhang Yao flying. Seizing the opportunity, he flashed to Zhang Yao's side and stepped on his body. With his 5 fingers spread open, he stabbed towards the wood spirit in Zhang Yao's chest. Bang! Wood chips flew everywhere. Layer after layer of branches slid rapidly, blocking Zhou Fu's fingers. Zhou Fu looked angrily at the small green tree that was only 10 centimeters away from him. However, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't move any further. Ha ha ha! Zhang Yao cackled. Zhou Fu, so what if I can't beat you? You're still going to die. After the previous round of attacks, Zhou Fu's energy was no longer drained. However, he knew that this was only temporary. Zhang Yao's energy would recover soon, and he would be weakened again. What the hell is this? Zhou Fu roared in anger. A scorching aura was emitted from his arm. The great sun Jin Qi was activated. A fist smashed down. Boom! Sizzle. The branches surrounding Zhang Yao were set ablaze. Before Zhou Fu could relax, the black and green lights on the branches began to swirl. The flames were extinguished in an instant, leaving behind only a few wisps of black smoke. Zhang Yao, with a painful expression, suddenly shouted, Zhou Fu, I can feel it. You have what spirit in your body. Ha ha! Explode. The green light flashed. Zhou Fu's expression suddenly changed. The small branches in his body had gone berserk. Fortunately, Zhou Fu had already removed the small branches in the important parts of his body. Otherwise, he would have suffered greatly. The golden light on Zhou Fu's body flashed and suppressed the small branches that were going berserk. That's F***king ridiculous. Zhou Fu kicked Zhang Yao and sent him flying. He turned to Mu Yu and said, as you can see, I'm in danger now. Then, he stepped on the ground and asked, if I don't kill Zhang Yao, I really can't leave? Mu Yu, who was thinking about whether to teach Zhou Fu the way to absorb wood spirit, heard Zhou Fu's question and sneered. Don't even think about it. This formation is a special spell of the wood spirit race. Moreover, it's made with the aquamarine moon disk. If you deliberately escape, the energy in your body will be drained faster. Naturally, you'll die faster. Moreover, even if you escape, the mark in your body will transform into a kind of lethal poison. It's about the strength of extraordinary level 4. In other words, if you have the strength beyond extraordinary level 4 now, you can naturally leave. No one can stop you. Looking at Mu Yu's mocking smile, Zhou Fu really wanted to beat her up. What kind of joke was this? If he had the strength of extraordinary level 4 now, Mu Yu, Zhang Yao, and this strange village would have been turned into ashes. Zhou Fu snorted and didn't reply. Instead, he stretched out his arm and exposed a shoulder. There was a dark branch that broke through his skin and revealed itself. Now, if you won't live, tell me the method to absorb with spirit energy and let me dissolve this thing. Then, I'll still have the strength to fight Zhang Yao. If you don't, then wait for death. Muyu pondered for a few seconds, then nodded bitterly. Fine, I'll tell you, but you have to swear that after you get the method, you're not allowed to come here again. Originally, Muyu wanted to say that he couldn't kill to obtain with spirit energy, but when the words were about to come out of her mouth, she felt that it was unrealistic, so she changed her words at the last minute. This village was really dispensable to Zhou Fu. Even if he didn't come here, there were other places to obtain energy. He immediately agreed. Don't worry. After I'm done with Zhang Yao, I won't come even if you want me to. That's for the best. Muyu immediately gave the method to absorb with spirit energy to Zhou Fu. After receiving the method, Zhou Fu immediately tried it. As he circulated his inner strength, the branches in his body trembled. Then, they slowly turned into green spots of light and merged into the nearby flesh and blood. So this is the real absorption. This wonderful feeling intoxicated Zhou Fu, who was on the battlefield. Muyu immediately noticed the changes in Zhou Fu's body. However, looking at Zhou Fu's expression, Muyu couldn't control the anger in her heart. She coldly said, "Be careful, don't get killed by Zhang Yao." Zhou Fu, who woke up from his intoxication, snorted. The golden light on his body suddenly converged. In the blink of an eye, Zhou Fu was like a man cast in gold. This method of yours, can you absorb and transform other spirit energy? Muyu was stunned for a moment, and her face became gloomy again. This bastard, he still hasn't escaped from the crisis in front of him, and he's already thinking of plundering other spirit energy. He's really greedy. I don't know. If you're not afraid of death, you can try. Oh, don't be so angry. Zhou Fu shook his head and said, I'm just asking. I don't have any other thoughts. In response to Zhou Fu's words, Muyu sneered a few times and turned her head away, ignoring him. Zhou Fu didn't ask for a snub and said, Okay, now that the energy in my body is no longer lost, it means that my strength is now equal to Zhang Yao's. Muyu heard this and suddenly turned her head. Her eyes widened in shock. His strength has increased so quickly. At this time, Muyu actually had a little regret, but she suppressed it. After all, her life is still important. Zhou Fu said, It's not early now. Today's matter should be resolved. As his voice fell, Zhou Fu's figure suddenly disappeared in front of Muyu's eyes. Not far away, in front of Zhang Yao. Boom! A loud noise. A golden fist broke the branches in front of Zhang Yao. Another punch came, and in the midst of the wood chips, Zhang Yao's real body was revealed. Zhou Fu loosened his fist and tightly clasped Zhang Yao with 5 fingers. With a fierce pull, Zhang Yao was smashed to the ground. Then he stepped on Zhang Yao and pressed him to the ground. No matter how Zhang Yao struggled, Zhou Fu's foot was like a small mountain, pressing down on Zhang Yao. Zhang Yao, we won't meet again in the future. As soon as the words came out, Zhou Fu didn't wait for Zhang Yao to reply. A golden flame rose from his fist and smashed down. Boom! Boom! Zhang Yao's real body has the body of a normal human. The difference is that a human's body is made of flesh and bones, while Zhang Yao's body is made of constantly moving branches. These branches are very tough. Previously, they blocked all of Zhou Fu's attacks, making Zhou Fu unable to do anything to the wood spirit. However, the current Zhou Fu is different. He removed the obstacles in his body and integrated the wood spirit, which strengthened his body to a certain extent. Coupled with his understanding of the martial codex, Zhou Fu's strength has once again reached a new level. Zhang Yao, it seems that these branches of yours can no longer protect you. After a dozen punches, the branches on Zhang Yao's chest have thinned by 10%. If Zhou Fu continues, after 100 punches, the wood spirit will be completely exposed. At that time, Zhang Yao will really die. Zhou Fu, Zhang Yao fiercely shouted, It's you again, bastard. Since you forced me to this point, then I'll let you see my true strength. Roar. Zhou Fu frowned and dodged. What the hell is this? After landing, Zhou Fu found that there are many black insects on his body. These things are constantly drilling into his body. Needless to say, these things can actually make Zhou Fu feel pain. It can be seen that their teeth are terrifying. Deadwood worm. Muyu saw the insects on Zhou Fu's body, and a horrifying memory came to her, causing her to shout out the name of the insects. Deadwood worm. Zhou Fu repeated as he circulated his great sun, true qi. A burst of flames gushed out and burned the insects into ashes. Muyu turned to look at Zhang Yao and shouted in disbelief, "You're not a wood spirit, you're not one at all." "Ha ha!" Zhang Yao laughed crazily and said, "When did I say that I'm a tree demon? So, you're an insect demon." Zhou Fu's words immediately suppressed Zhang Yao's laughter. Chapter 242. Zhou Fu. The mournful roar was filled with hatred. Zhou Fu's words were like a knife, fiercely stabbing into Zhang Yao's soul. The piercing pain made Zhang Yao go crazy. Insect demon. He actually dared to call him insect demon. This word was even harder for him to accept than tree demon. After all, Zhang Yao knew that he wasn't a tree demon. Subconsciously, he even thought of himself as a human, a special human, not a foreign race. But now, Zhou Fu actually exposed his heart's cover. This kind of pain made him want to tear Zhou Fu apart bit by bit. He wanted to make him suffer. He wanted to use extreme torture to deal with Zhou Fu. Zhou Fu, who was regarded as an irreconcilable enemy by Zhang Yao, as the wood's spiritual energy in his body was completely absorbed and transformed, a notification sounded in his mind. Ding! Active energy detected, absorbing. Zhou Fu's face suddenly changed and became gloomy. In his body, the energy that could nourish his body was rapidly disappearing. His body, however, did not feel comfortable at all. The support could actually absorb wood's spiritual energy. What is active energy? In the midst of the pain and confusion, Zhou Fu's wood's spiritual energy disappeared completely. Ding! Active energy absorption completed, conditions met, beginning upgrade. Upgrading, Zhou Fu could see a progress bar, which was rising little by little. Although he was angry, he was also looking forward to it. Looking forward to the new version of the support, what kind of changes would there be? Zhou Fu. A low voice came from Zhang Yao's mouth. From Zhou Fu's eyes, he knew that his opponent was distracted. Creak. The sound of wood being twisted came from Zhang Yao's mouth. He was so angry that his whole body trembled. Zhou Fu, even in this situation, you are still so arrogant. First, Zhou Fu opened the scar in his heart, exposing his identity as an insect demon. Then, he ignored him and dared to be distracted during the battle. This was a naked humiliation to him. Crunch, crunch. Zhang Yao's body began to emit tiny noises, as if there were countless bugs gnawing on something. Muyu's expression changed greatly. She was terrified. Her body trembled as she shouted, "Insect! Worm!" A bug that could make Muyu feel fear was definitely not an ordinary bug. Zhou Fu rolled his eyes. Now that he had a way to deal with Zhang Yao, the most important thing for him was to help him level up. 50%, 70%, 90%, as the numbers kept jumping. Zhou Fu slowly became nervous. What would be different about this upgrade? Ding! A crisp voice rang out. Upgrade complete. The auxiliary interface in the void suddenly collapsed, emitting countless blue starlight. Spinning and fusing. A new interface appeared. Name, Zhou Fu Realm. First Blood Changing Realm Experience. 56% Martial Arts. Wisdom King Scripture. Level 79 Characteristics. Immovable Wisdom King Dharma. Demon Subduing. Wisdom. Immovable Wisdom King Physique. Unlocking. Characteristics. Martial Arts Fusion 3 Wheels Returning Incarnation Divine Technique. Level 59 Characteristics. Essence Transformation Adamantine Battle Body. Level 37 Characteristics. Tenacity, Damage Resistance, Strength Enhancement Spring Wind, and Rain Nourishing. Technique. Level 79 Recovery and Enhancement Great Sun True Chi. Level Complete. Realm Beginner. Characteristics. True Meaning of the Great Sun. Unlocking. Secret Art. Firefly. Internal Strength Control Foundation Establishment Technique. greatly improves physique, strengthens bone structure, and slightly improves aptitude spiritual energy conversion. Incomplete absorbs would attribute spiritual energy and converts it into active energy. Mysterious item. Heart-refining voodoo worm. Characteristics: raging flame, splitting. Zhou Fu looked at the new interface and was a little confused. The biggest difference brought to Zhou Fu by this upgrade was the change in the interface. It looked better than before, and the user experience had improved a lot. The information of various martial arts was clearer, and there were even classifications. However, what made him a little uncomfortable was that there was an attribute called experience points. Didn't this mean that there was no way to casually level up in the future? Although he didn't casually level up before, it was different now. I can choose not to use it, but you can't do without it. And now, the support had taken away the initiative to level up, which made him feel a little uncomfortable. Experience points. Zhou Fu frowned. Where am I supposed to get this? There's also no explanation. Is the service industry so overbearing now? Just as he was feeling distressed, a cool energy emerged from his body, and the experience points on the support panel increased rapidly, reaching 100% in the blink of an eye. Just like that, it's full? The series of changes made Zhou Fu a little stunned, and then he thought, could the source of experience points be the so-called active energy, which is spiritual energy? Just as Zhou Fu was guessing, Mu Yu's panicked voice sounded. Be careful. Zhou Fu raised his head and saw a sky full of small black dots flying over. Buzz, 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 buzz. Insects. A sky full of insects. Zhou Fu's pupils shrank, and his body trembled subconsciously. A layer of goosebumps appeared on his arms and back. Immediately, a burst of anger rose in his heart. There were still many things that he hadn't studied in the new version of the support system, and it was interrupted by Zhang Yao. I won't go find you, and you're not happy about it, but you dare to attack me? Zhou Fu punched out, and the air around his fist instantly burned. Squeak, squeak. Amidst the screams of the insects, a burnt smell filled the air. After the attack, Zhou Fu looked at Zhang Yao coldly. At this time, Zhang Yao's appearance changed again. From a tree demon to a bugman. Black mucus was dripping from the corner of Zhang Yao's mouth. Zhou Fu punched out, and a flame smashed toward Zhang Yao. Squeak! Zhang Yao dodged to the side. Boom! Sparks flew everywhere. After Zhang Yao landed, he looked at the place where the flame fell. The place was charred black, and there was white smoke rising. He took a few steps to the side with fear. Most animals have a sense of fear towards fire. The insect that Zhang Yao fused with was also afraid of fire. Look at you. If you were a tree demon, you might be able to cause some trouble for me. But you're not. You're just an insect demon. Zhou Fu sighed, shook his head, and said, Don't you know that I'm practicing the great Sun True Qi? Looking at Zhang Yao's confused eyes, he explained, You might not know the origin of the great Sun True Qi, but from the name, you should be able to tell that it's a fire attribute cultivation technique. The thick golden color on Zhou Fu's body began to fade, and at the same time, it emitted a scorching aura. After the upgrade of the support system, he found that his control of martial arts was much better. The Akala King physique that had not been fully activated now revealed the characteristic of fusion. With the help of this characteristic, the Akala King scripture and Great Sun True Qi were in perfect harmony, and a miraculous change occurred. An invisible flame enveloped Zhou Fu. Although the flame could not be seen from the churning air around his body, one could guess how terrifying the temperature of the flame was. Zhiji! Zhang Yao took a step back in fear, and at this moment, he wanted to escape. Want to run? Not so easy. Zhou Fu's figure flashed, and using his movement technique, he appeared in front of Zhang Yao and punched out. Whoosh! Before the fist arrived, the scorching aura made Zhang Yao restless, and a feeling of panic rose in his heart. He did not resist, and instead he screamed and dodged. Bang! The flames exploded, and Zhang Yao screamed as he was sent flying. Although he tried his best to dodge, Zhou Fu's speed was too fast. His left shoulder was grazed by the fist, and his entire shoulder was ignited by the scorching hot inner strength. Hiss! After Zhang Yao landed, he quickly distanced himself from Zhou Fu. At the same time, the wound on his shoulder was flickering with a black light mixed with a green light. His spirit energy surged and extinguished the fire. Even so, the wound was still flowing with a black liquid. Roar! Zhang Yao arched his body, stretched his neck, opened his mouth, and let out an ear-piercing roar. In an instant, a large number of poisonous insects flew out from his body. Meaningless move. Zhou Fu sneered. No matter how many poisonous insects there were, it was useless. As long as his inner strength was not exhausted, the invisible flame of the great sun, true Qi, was still there. Even if there were poisonous insects all over the sky, they were just moths to a flame. Just when Zhou Fu thought that the poisonous insects were about to fly up, the swarm of insects flew into the air. The buzzing sound of their wings was like mosquitoes on a summer night, and it made people feel annoyed. Looking up, the swarm of insects was like a gray fog. Buzz, 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 buzz. What the hell is this? Zhou Fu couldn't understand it, but he paid attention to it. He punched out, and a scorching hot inner strength rushed up. The swarm of insects felt the attack and quickly moved away, dodging it. Seeing that his attack missed, Zhou Fu frowned. Forget it, I don't care. As long as I kill Zhang Yao, today's matter can be considered over. After releasing the swarm of insects, Zhang Yao seemed to be very weak. He shook his body and supported himself on the ground with a deformed but very long arm. Seeing Zhou Fu turn his head, Zhang Yao smiled sinisterly and said provocatively, "Come, kill me." Bang! Before Zhang Yao could finish his words, Zhou Fu executed his movement technique, and the ground beneath his feet suddenly exploded under the immense force. Leaving an illusory afterimage in the air, Zhou Fu came to Zhang Yao's side in a blink of an eye and punched out with a pale golden fist. Bang! The fist landed on Zhang Yao's back. The fierce fist instantly blasted a big hole in Zhang Yao's back, and the heat emitted by the inner strength ignited the wound. Roar! The intense pain stimulated Zhang Yao to tremble, and he let out a painful roar. His head turned half a circle, and his black eyes stared at Zhou Fu, and his gloomy voice revealed a hint of cruelty. "Zhou Fu, if you want to kill me, it won't be that easy." With a bang, Zhang Yao's body suddenly exploded. Black liquid splashed all over the sky, and two black vines stretched out from the broken body, imprisoning Zhou Fu in place. Buzz, 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 buzz. As the swarm of insects approached, a large amount of gray fog floated down. Buzz, 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 buzz. After the bricks on the ground came in contact with the fog, they let out a sizzling sound, and white smoke rose. The fog was poisonous. Chapter 243. Under the cover of the fog, the flames on Zhou Fu's body were constantly flickering. The internal strength that was maintaining the invisible flames in his body was being consumed at a rapid rate. Zhou Fu's face suddenly changed. He did not expect Zhang Yao to have such means. He roared open. His arms exerted force, and the vines creaked as if they would break in the next second. However, the vines were very tenacious and did not break. Ga. Zhou Fu, just wait for your death. Zhang Yao's voice came from the swarm. It contained the joy of revenge. Hearing Zhang Yao's ridicule, Zhou Fu raised his head. His eyes flashed with a golden red light, but his expression was very calm. He said, "You want me to die? With your little tricks, it's not enough to scratch my itch." His arms no longer struggled, allowing the vines to wrap around him. Red dots of light floated out of Zhou Fu's body and fell on the vines. More and more light spots appeared, and the two vines looked like they were made of rubies. They were even shining brightly. Although Zhang Yao was surprised, he was very confident in the vines he created. After all, it was made by fusing more than half of his strength. At the same time, it was also resistant to fire. However, as soon as his voice fell, he shouted in horror, "What the hell is this?" The two vines were constantly being eroded by the red dots of light. Like icicles under high temperature, they were melting at a speed visible to the naked eye. Muyu, who was on the side, saw Zhou Fu being tied up and became anxious. However, when she saw the red dots, she was stunned for a moment. She sighed at her heart that Zhou Fu had many tricks up his sleeve. However, after a while, she sensed a trace of aura from the red dots. It was an aura that made her soul tremble. What the hell is this? Muyu's body helped her to react. She struggled to move in the opposite direction of Zhou Fu. Rustle, rustle, rustle. Fine and dense sounds came from the vines. It was like a room where silkworms were raised. Countless baskets were filled with mulberry leaves, and white and tender silkworms were eating. What the hell is this? Zhang Yao controlled the swarm to fly away from Zhou Fu. It was too terrifying. The vines that he had spent so much effort on were gone in the blink of an eye. Moreover, the information transmitted from the vine made him feel terrified. That was a natural pressure. It was like an ordinary animal seeing a tiger or a leopard. He wanted to run. The swarm of insects quickly disappeared into the night sky with a small green tree. Zhou Fu looked at the departing Zhang Yao and asked, Muyu, didn't you say that as long as someone is marked, they can't leave the village? Turning his head, he was shocked to find Muyu looking at him with a terrified expression. She was still moving away. Hearing Zhou Fu's question, Muyu stopped and replied with a trembling voice, Yes, yes, he can't leave. Don't come any closer. Seeing Zhou Fu walking over, Muyu hurriedly stopped him. You can't hurt me. Don't come over. Zhou Fu frowned and looked at the red dot floating beside him. Could it be that Muyu is also afraid of this thing? That's not right. These red dots were the heart-refining voodoo worms. They were voodoo worms. Why was Muyu, a tree demon, so afraid of this thing? Could it be that the heart-refining voodoo worms also gnawed on tree bark? Although he didn't understand, was this thing's recipe really so strange? Zhou Fu stopped. He turned his head and looked at the place where Zhang Yao escaped. A large amount of energy came from under his feet and poured into his body. With a thought, he called out the support panel. On the experience bar, the value had exceeded 100%, 105%, 110. It was still increasing. Should he level up and feel the new function? There were some things that he didn't want to be fine. But as long as he thought about it, that inexplicable impulse would become stronger and stronger until he couldn't control it. Level up, this was a battlefield. Zhang Yao, who had escaped, would come back at some point. According to past experience, his body would feel some discomfort when his cultivation level increased. If he was unlucky, he might even be beaten up by Zhang Yao. No, the thought had already arisen. His heart felt like it was being scratched by a cat. After struggling for a while, more and more power poured into his feet. On the support panel, the experience value jumped more and more. Zhou Fu gritted his teeth. Level up. Ding. Realm increased. Current second level of blood transformation. A stream of heat emerged, making Zhou Fu feel like he was soaking in a hot spring. His heart was beating very strongly, pounding against his chest. The blood flowing in his body was getting hotter and hotter. It spread to the meridians, muscles, and bones all over his body, and he felt pain. Huff! Zhou Fu exhaled, and his eyes slowly became dull. A layer of sweat appeared on his forehead. This feeling, it's like I'm melting. His nostrils were hot, and Zhou Fu subconsciously wiped it with his hand. At a glance, it was black and red. Blood. Nosebleed? Zhou Fu was stunned. He didn't expect that he would have a nosebleed one day. Suddenly, he felt his chest suddenly blocked, as if he had drunk too much wine, and his stomach was churning. Vomit. Splash. A pool of black stuff was spat out from his mouth. There was an old saying, out of sight, out of mind. On the other hand, some things, as soon as you see them, your heart will feel polluted. Vomit. This time, it was Zhou Fu who took the initiative. Seeing the black filth, a feeling of nausea covered his heart. On the other side, Muyu was dumbfounded, and a great doubt arose in her heart. What's going on? I just didn't let you come over. Why did you vomit? After vomiting for a while, Zhou Fu straightened up with difficulty and looked up at the sky. At this time, his heart was much clearer. At this moment, it was as if a cool breeze blew through his body. The pores all over his body opened up. A large amount of gray filth seeped out through the pores. In the blink of an eye, it was enveloped by the invisible flame of Zhou Fu and burned to ashes. Transparent, refreshing, and full of power in his body. He opened the attribute panel. Name, Zhou Fu Realm. Second level of blood transformation experience, 14%. After successfully leveling up, Zhou Fu waved his hand, and blazing internal strength gushed out, burning the filth on the ground in front of him to ashes. Moreover, it also blew away the unpleasant smell in the surrounding air. Zhou Fu, Mu Yu's voice came. You'd better go after Zhang Yao now. As long as you kill him, the matter between us will be over. Zhou Fu raised his eyebrows. He felt very good now. The power kept coming from under his feet, indicating that Zhang Yao was already an arrow at the end of its flight. Perhaps, if he waited for a while, Zhang Yao would die, saving him the effort. After all, if he could sit, he wouldn't stand, and if he could lie down, he wouldn't sit. What's the hurry? Didn't you say that neither of us can escape from this village, and that the formation under our feet can continue to weaken the other side until the weaker side dies? Wait a while more. I can feel that Zhang Yao is about to die. Mu Yu's face darkened. I'm about to die too. Zhang Yao has been devouring my wood spirit. Zhou Fu shrugged, thinking to himself, isn't this good? The one who benefits in the end is me, so I definitely won't be in a hurry. From Zhou Fu's actions and the expression on his face, Mu Yu instantly understood what he was thinking. She cursed inwardly, then said, as long as I die, this formation will also break. At that time, Zhang Yao will be able to escape. I can tell you with certainty that as long as Zhang Yao enters the forest, even our wood spirit race will find it difficult to find him. If it were you, would you be able to find a single seed in the grass? She was right. He wouldn't be able to find it. But so what if he found it? Tonight, Zhou Fu had obtained enough benefits, so much so that he would laugh in his sleep. Thus, Zhang Yao's life or death didn't matter to him. Seeing Zhou Fu's indifference, Mu Yu's teeth itched with hatred. Although she hated him, there was nothing she could do. Weighing the pros and cons in her heart, Mu Yu said, if you can kill Zhang Yao and return my wood spirit, then leave and never come back. I will teach you the method to absorb spiritual energy. It is suitable for all kinds of spiritual energy. This time, Zhou Fu was tempted to be able to absorb all kinds of spiritual energy. Good stuff. He had to get it. Looking at Mu Yu, Zhou Fu said with a smile that wasn't a smile, you have quite a few good things in your hands. Oof. It's just a few more years of life. No matter how many good things I have, they will all be taken by you. Of course, Zhou Fu didn't believe her words. However, looking at her expression, if he continued to force her, who knew what kind of trouble she would cause? After all, the two of them weren't mortal enemies. If he didn't have the determination to kill her, it was best to leave her with some leeway. Perhaps they would meet again in the future. All right, you can wait here for my news. After saying this, Zhou Fu used his movement technique and flew towards the place he sensed. After flying for a while, Zhou Fu found Zhang Yao at the edge of the village near the forest. A group of gray insects was colliding with a green light barrier. Every time they collided, a green flame would burst out between the light barrier and the insects. In the air, there was a burnt smell. Zhou Fu. Zhang Yao heard the commotion and turned to see Zhou Fu rushing over. Zhang Yao. Zhou Fu sighed. To be honest, when he was about to kill Zhang Yao, he suddenly felt that he should thank him. After all, everything he got tonight was thanks to him. To be honest, Zhou Fu looked at him and said, I really have to thank you for tonight. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have improved so quickly. Of course, the improvement of cultivation is secondary. The most important thing is, forget it. You won't understand even if I tell you. In order to thank you, I will act quickly. I won't let you feel any pain. Zhang Yao gritted his teeth and said, then I have to thank you. No need, no need. This is what I should do. Zhou Fu shook his head and a large amount of red light flew out. Not only were there heart-refining goo worms, there was also some great sun, true qi. Have a safe journey. Boom. In an instant, flames lit up the sky. Chapter 244. Given the current situation, No matter how anxious Zhou Fu was, it was useless. The only way was to raise his strength. He could no longer rely on the giant whale. Xing Feng only treated him as a tool. Moreover, his relationship with Xing Feng was unclear. Who knew what Xing Feng was thinking? As for Xing Gang, it was already good enough that he did not add insult to injury in times of crisis. He could not be counted on. As he swallowed the blood yang pills one by one, the 3 cycles of origin transformation technique was fully activated. A large amount of essence was absorbed and turned into experience points. Just as Zhou Fu swallowed the 20th pill, a bloated feeling came from his body, as if he had eaten too much. There's an upper limit to this thing. Zhou Fu's eyes widened. He could not accept the new situation. Not only was there a limit to the experience points, but there was also a limit to how much he could level up every day. How was he supposed to continue this? At this time, Zhou Fu's status panel showed that his experience points had reached 35%. 10 points a day. Damn it, this is too slow. Zhou Fu glared at the support interface. Although he was annoyed, there was nothing he could do. He could not control this thing. Should I look for more mutated humans to kill? An idea appeared in his mind, but he rejected it immediately. Killing mutated humans was not a problem. The problem was that he did not know where they were. Even if he went to Qingtian County's Tranquil village and slaughtered everyone there, he would not be able to level up. Moreover, after what happened last time, Tranquil village must have been cleared out. Even if he went there, it would be useless. This is difficult. After lamenting for a while, Zhou Fu sat up. Although it was easy to give up, the problem that he was about to face could cost him his life. For his life, Zhou Fu could only think of ways to increase his strength. He closed his eyes and began to meditate. The great sun true qi in his body was activated. Right now, every bit of improvement in his strength would be a bit more beneficial to him. Time flew by. For hours had passed. Zhou Fu opened his eyes and stood up. Currently, the meridians in his body were filled to the brim. Moreover, he was mentally exhausted. At this time, the sky outside the window was already dark. It should be 10 past midnight. He pushed the door open and walked out of the room. Young master, are you done with your cultivation? The meal is ready. You can eat at any time. Yuju's voice sounded. Zhou Fu smiled and nodded. All right, I happen to be a little hungry now. On the dining table, plates of dishes were placed on the table. Zhou Fu ate in big mouthfuls. While he was eating, he opened the attribute panel. He was stunned by what he saw. His experience bar went from 35% to 45%. What was going on? Where would the experience points come from? He quickly looked at the notification bar. Ding! Cultivating Great Sun True Qi. Experience points increased. The series of notifications made Zhou Fu burst with joy. After 4 hours of cultivation, his experience bar had increased by 10%. With the addition of the pills, it had risen by 20% today. Before Zhou Fu could continue to be happy, he suddenly thought of an important matter, and that was that he did not have enough pills. If I don't have enough pills, I'll make up for it with cultivation. Zhou Fu quickly finished his meal. After a simple wash, he lay down and went to sleep. He needed to rest well and continue his cultivation tomorrow. The next day, Zhou Fu woke up early in the morning and checked the condition of his meridians. I can cultivate now. After a night of 8 hours of rest, with his strong physique and extremely fast recovery speed, his body had recovered and he could cultivate at any time. 3 more days, no. In 2.5 days, I will be able to advance by 1 level. At that time, my ability to protect myself will be greater. Thinking of this, Zhou Fu's mood suddenly became better. Even the cold winter was so comfortable. Cultivate. For the next 2 days, Zhou Fu devoted himself to cultivation. Other than that, he did not care about anything else. Giant whale. Xing Gang looked at the spy in front of him and asked, after Zhou Fu came back, what did he do? Master, after Zhou Fu came back, he met with Huang Feng, Zhang Yao, and Duan Cheng. After that, he's been in the training room. The spy lowered his head and replied, every day in the training room. Xing Gang frowned. Didn't he jump around all the time? He was like a monkey. If he didn't find something to do, he would be bored to death. This time, he actually became a teacher. Did something happen to him? Suddenly, he thought of the place Zhou Fu went to some time ago. Could it be he really got something from Changle Village? Thinking about it again, he was not sure. It shouldn't be. The entrance there is sealed, and with his current strength, he can't beat that tree demon. Zhang Yao. According to Zhou Fu's character, he should have gone to kill Zhang Yao. At most, he would kill a few tree demons and absorb some spirit energy. The spy said again, "Master, we found something else." "Speak." "Yes. Recently, a large number of extraordinary experts have come to Ning in East, South, West, and Central City. It is estimated that at least 100 extraordinary experts will come this year." 100? Xingang's face showed disdain. A group of people from the wilderness who don't cultivate properly. With some talent and luck, it's good enough that they can reach this level. They actually want to come to Ning and East and interfere. Hee. They are all courting death. "Master, we also found that the extraordinary experts who came to Ning and East are all being watched by Zhou Fu's men." Xingang's eyes lit up. He immediately understood Zhou Fu's abnormal behavior. "I see. The experts of unknown origins are pressuring him." Hee. "Kid, weren't you very arrogant a while ago? You even wanted to sweep Ning and East. You have courage, but your appetite is a bit small." Xingang laughed strangely and waved his hand to dismiss the spy. After the spy left, the room quieted down. Xingang walked to the window and said to himself with a mocking expression, "So what if you're a third brother? I'm afraid you still don't know what's going on. TSK. How pitiful. How pitiful. Ha ha ha." After laughing for a while, Xingang stopped. "Zhou Fu and third brother's deal is probably to stop me at that time. Third brother probably knows about Zhou Fu's improvement speed, so he wants him to beat me up in public and break my martial arts heart. I see. Hee. Third brother, you are still so insidious. But now that I know, will I still let you get what you want? You want to see my men counterattack me. Why wouldn't I want you to have a taste of your own scheme?" Hee. Another burst of laughter. Looking at the twinkling stars in the winter night, Xingang took a deep breath. His eyes flashed. "If you don't tell Zhou Fu what will happen, then I will tell him. I will also guide him and let him know what you want to do and what he will lose. I didn't expect that without relying on pills, I can gain 20% experience by cultivating my inner strength every day. If this is the case, then I can keep the pills. I will use them when I am pressed for time. I can just meditate." Looking at the full amount of experience points, Zhou Fu chuckled. "Level up. Ding. Realm level up. Current blood, transformation, third realm." The boiling hot flow once again flowed through his body. This familiar feeling was the same as the last time he leveled up. It's finally over. This feeling of my whole body melting is really uncomfortable. Zhou Fu stood up and circulated his inner strength. The hot breath burned away the impurities that flowed out of his body. After washing up, Zhou Fu sat in the courtyard. The north wind in winter couldn't bring him a trace of coldness. Looking at the attribute panel, Zhou Fu calculated his strength. Wisdom King Scripture can level up by 2 more levels. Tri-wheel Origin Transformation Technique can level up by 4 more levels. Adamant and Battle Body can level up by 4 more levels. Spring Wind and Rain Nourishing Technique can level up by 2 more levels. Zhou Fu's eyes suddenly widened. He stared straight at the description of the Great Sun True Qi. Level complete, realm, beginner can be leveled up. F*CK. Level up, and I still need to level up. That means not only do I need to level up my cultivation technique, but I also need to level up my cultivation technique. The programmer who developed the auxiliary system must have been a planner from the Goose Factory, and then changed his profession to program development. Which normal person would do such a thing? At this moment, Zhou Fu's mentality was a bit broken. His main cultivation technique hadn't been fully leveled up, and now he saw the path of leveling up. This was F*King Endless. Moreover, he still didn't know how much experience points he needed to level up his cultivation technique. If he still needed full experience points to level it up, then he was done for. Following Zhou Fu's thoughts, the plus sign behind the cultivation technique, all darkened. Subconsciously, it reminded Zhou Fu not to think about it. It couldn't be leveled up. Zhou Fu was speechless. Needless to say, this was quite humane, but it was a bit hurtful. Just as Zhou Fu continued to study, Huang Feng and the others came again. "Sir," Huang Feng took out a small box and placed it on the table. "Here are the pills that were refined in the past few days. There are a total of 25 pills. There's no need to rush this. Just deliver them once every 10 days. Huang Feng was stunned. He remembered that 3 days ago, Zhou Fu wasn't like this. When he heard about the production of the pills, he was quite dissatisfied. What was going on now? It had only been 3 days. Why did it seem like a different person? Yes, this subordinate understands. No matter what, this had reduced the pressure on him by quite a bit. Did anything happen in the past 2 days? Zhou Fu asked casually. Huang Feng hesitated for a moment, then nodded and said, "Something did happen. Oh, it's like this. The powder music shop opened for business last month, and the business is the best in our Ning and E-City. It's not an exaggeration to say that we're making a lot of money every day. The so-called powder music pavilion was the construction site that was previously built. However, it's precisely because the business is good that someone has set their eyes on it." Zhou Fu's eyes narrowed slightly. This was interesting. Now, in Ning and East City, there was actually someone who wanted to stretch their hands out in front of him. Zhou Fu. Interesting. Zhou Fu smiled and asked, "Who is it?" "Ho family. Ning and East City is a human trafficking business. They also operate many brothels, and gambling dens." Chapter 245. A few days ago, the second young master of the Ho clan, Ho Yong, found me. He directly said that the Ho clan had taken a liking to the powder music workshop and asked you to hand it over in 10 days. The one who spoke was Jin Peng. He lowered his head, not daring to look at Zhou Fu's face. Anyone who heard such arrogant words would be infuriated. He. After a moment of silence, Zhou Fu let out a low laugh. The gloomy voice scared Huang Feng and the other two to the point that they broke out in a cold sweat. 10 days later, Zhou Fu's eyes flashed with a cold light. "How many people are there in the Ho clan?" "Sir, we have already found out that there is 1 person in the Exuvia realm and 6 in the blood-changing realm. Moreover, these people are all monks," Huang Feng said. "Monk?" Zhou Fu narrowed his eyes. "Great Buddha Temple. Great Buddha Temple. The world's famous Great Temple." Huang Feng was stunned for a moment and quickly shook his head. No. Why would the Great Buddha Temple's eminent monks come to Ning and East City? Even if they came, they would go to the central city. How are they compared to the Great Buddha Temple's power? Zhou Fu asked again. "Of course it can't be compared to the Great Buddha Temple." Huang Feng explained, "Those monks are from the Xingfu Temple, just an ordinary Buddhist temple." Zhou Fu heaved a sigh of relief. As long as it wasn't the kind with a huge background, it was fine. If it was really a great Buddha temple level temple, he wouldn't have to wait for 10 days. He could just send it over now. It would save him the trouble. According to what that Ho Yong said, a day had already passed. In other words, after 9 days, the other party would come knocking on his door. But why was it 9 days later? Could it be that they still had enough manpower? "All right, I got it. In the next few days, as long as there are blood yang pills, send them to me." Huang Feng. Why did it change again after just a few sentences? "Yes." Zhou Fu waved his hand and said, "Okay, everything is as usual. If there is nothing else, you can go back." Looking at the 3 people who stood up, Zhou Fu said, "If that Ho guy takes things too hard and tries to cause trouble again, cripple him. If the Ho clan makes any moves, inform me." "Yes, we understand." After the 3 of them left, Zhou Fu's face instantly turned cold. He stretched out his hand, and a scarlet inner strength condensed into a ribbon that kept spinning around his arm. 10 days, Staring at the ribbons, Zhou Fu muttered to himself, "You need time, but so do I." He stood up and walked back to the training room. After breaking through today, he still hadn't started cultivating. In the training room, Zhou Fu sat down cross-legged as waves of energy rippled out from his body. Time passed quickly during cultivation. By the time Zhou Fu felt that his body had reached the limit of cultivation, 6 hours had already passed. After leveling up, even the cultivation time has increased. The new discovery made Zhou Fu very happy. The longer the cultivation time, the more experience points he would gain. This is a good thing. Calling out the status panel, Zhou Fu's eyes were filled with joy. After leveling up, the experience points column had been cleared, and now it was already at 30% progress. Unfortunately, the level of the Wisdom King scripture still can't be leveled up. Zhou Fu was a little disappointed. Since there was no hope of leveling up, he returned to his room to rest. The next day, in the training room, Zhou Fu woke up from his cultivation and let out a long breath. The golden light in his eyes slowly faded away. Not bad. I can level up today. On the support panel, behind the level of the Wisdom King scripture, the plus sign that represented leveling up lit up. He could level up now. Level up. Ding. Martial arts level successfully leveled up. Invisible gusts of wind formed around Zhou Fu's body and spun. He who was originally sitting cross-legged was pulled up by an invisible force. He sat cross-legged in the air and hovered half a meter above the ground. A golden light lit up behind Zhou Fu's head. A grand and solemn aura rushed out of his body. In a split second, everyone in the Zhou residence felt their hearts sink as if something heavy was pressing down on them. What's going on? The blood transformation realm guard in charge of guarding the dungeon held the hilt of his sword and looked around in panic. I don't know. My heart is beating very fast. I'm a little scared. The other guard, who was also in the blood transformation realm, also spoke. The two of them looked at each other and realized that beads of sweat had appeared on each other's foreheads. At this moment, Zhou Fu felt very strange. He saw his own body and everything in the room. This is an out-of-body experience? Zhou Fu curiously looked at his body that was floating in the air with closed eyes. He felt very curious. Then he looked down at himself. There was nothing, only a ball of void. TSK, interesting. Raising his head, his heart stirred. He looked up and instantly reached the roof. Before Zhou Fu could continue admiring the scenery, a gust of wind blew over. A feeling of impending doom surged up. He quickly sank into the room and returned to his body. Zhou Fu, who was sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes. A look of lingering fear appeared on his face. What was that just now? He wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and drank 2 cups of water before stabilizing his mind. Bang, bang, bang. There was a knock on the door. Zhou Fu raised his head. Just as he was about to speak, he suddenly saw the person outside the door. It was the guard he arranged in the dungeon. Come in. The door opened, and the person who came in was indeed the person he saw just now. This subordinate pays his respects to Sir. The guard bowed and said in a deep voice, Sir, there was a very powerful aura that descended on the residence just now. Everyone felt it. Zhou Fu was stunned. Powerful aura? Why didn't he feel it? Could it be that it was caused by his breakthrough? I understand. Zhou Fu nodded and didn't explain anything. Tell the people in the residence not to panic. These words stunned the guard. Then, he seemed to have guessed something. A look of understanding flashed across his eyes. After saying yes, he left the room. How was it? What did Sir say? As soon as he returned to the dungeon, another guard came up to him curiously. The guard who went to report to Zhou Fu laughed. What are you laughing at? The person who asked the question was unhappy. It was fine if he didn't answer the question, but why did he laugh foolishly? That's an expert that our Sir invited. Expert? What does he look like? I don't know, I didn't see him. Then what the hell are you talking about? A pair of eyes rolled over. Why don't you say that our Sir's cultivation was successful and his aura erupted? How is that possible? The guard who explained was unhappy. How is it impossible? These two guards usually like to brag and bicker with each other. Now that something unexpected had happened, they could still calm down after arguing with each other for a while. Although our Sir is a genius, he is still in the blood-changing realm. That aura just now, how can it be released at this realm? Use your brain filled with water to think about it. Bastard, you dare to say that my brain is filled with water. Die for me. In the training room. This time, I used 40% of my experience points to level up. It's okay, I can accept it. Zhou Fu turned his gaze to the cultivation method column. The level of the scripture of the wise king had already reached level 8, one level away from the maximum level. If the experience points needed to level up didn't change, then he would be able to reach the maximum level tomorrow. It's a pity that after this level up, the attributes of the cultivation method didn't change much. I just feel that the Dharma in my sea of consciousness has become more condensed. There's also that out-of-body feeling just now, as well as the ability to see people through the door. This scripture of the wise king is really magical. It seems that there's still a lot of potential. Today's 6 hours of cultivation had ended. Zhou Fu washed up briefly and had a meal. Once again, he returned to the training room. Although he couldn't cultivate anymore, he wanted to properly feel the changes brought about by this level up. When he was focused on something, time would pass very quickly. Zhou Fu woke up from his meditation. He shook his groggy head and realized that the sky outside the window was already completely dark. Time passes really quickly. Just nice. I've exhausted a lot of my energy. I'll take a rest first. The third day. After 6 hours of cultivation, together with the remaining 20% experience points from yesterday, he had accumulated another 50%. The plus sign behind the scripture of the wise king lit up again. Level up. Ding. Martial arts level successfully leveled up. Following the notification from the support system, a feeling of enlightenment surfaced in his mind. At the same time, Zhou Fu's mind was suddenly filled with Buddhist light. The golden light was dense and gradually turned white. This feeling, a relaxed and joyful feeling, emerged from the bottom of his heart. This feeling gradually grew and spread throughout Zhou Fu's body. So comfortable. It was as if he was a pedestrian walking with a heavy load. When he was exhausted, he suddenly felt as if he was about to float. Is this the great joy that Buddhists talk about? After waking up, Zhou Fu thought for a while and had some guesses about the special feeling he had just felt. You don't say. He recalled for a while, and a look of yearning appeared on his face. That feeling was really good. It came from his soul. He shook his head and dispelled the yearning feeling in his heart. Although he was cultivating Buddhist techniques, it didn't mean that he wanted to convert. He called out the support system interface. The experience points column had already returned to 0. The level up this time was 10% higher than the previous time. A total of 50% experience points were used. The attributes of the technique this time have changed a bit. In the technique column, the description of the scripture of the wise king had undergone a huge change. Scripture of the wise king. Level complete. Realm, beginner. Characteristics, golden body, dharma, demon subduing, wisdom, dharma blessing. The original Akalanatha Dharma had been replaced by Dharma, and the Akalanatha physique had been replaced by golden body. The wisdom was still there. There was another Dharma blessing. Zhou Fu was a little confused about the new attributes. What is this? Is it for practicing? Chapter 246. Sai, this support is good in every way. It's just that it doesn't have a manual for the characteristics of the skill. I have to figure out myself every time. Zhou Fu's face was filled with helplessness. Having a cheat on him was great, but it wasn't as good as it should have been. It was always lacking that little bit. The more he experienced this feeling, the more vexed he felt. When this thing is more mature, I'll create a manual for it. After grumbling for a while, Zhou Fu started to figure out. A characteristic that only appeared after the skill was maxed out was definitely not an ordinary thing. It had to be very powerful. Therefore, if he spent time on this, he would definitely reap considerable rewards. Buddhist blessing. Could it be that it has a restraining effect on the demon sect, demons, and Ein-type existences? But it doesn't feel like it. After pondering for a while, Zhou Fu placed his attention on the Great Sun True Qi. The Great Sun True Qi is also an authentic Buddhist skill. If I had a Buddhist buff to this thing, what kind of effect would it have? Let's try it out. The Great Sun True Qi was activated. The Dharma form in his sea of consciousness also released a platinum Buddhist light. This feeling, Zhou Fu took a deep breath. His eyes were filled with unconcealable joy. At this moment, on the attribute board, The description of the Great Sun True Chi. Great Sun True Intent, Buddhist blessing, activated. With a flip of his palm, a palm print was formed on the solid ground. There was even a rising heat inside. There was no char ground, nor was there any fire. This is the true will of the Great Sun? Zhou Fu's brows furrowed as a look of disappointment crossed his face. He had given it such a powerful name. Why was the effect so lame? Wasn't it called the Great Sun True Intent? Could the high temperature be the so-called true intent? No. The Great Sun True Scripture was the specialty of a top Buddhist sect like the Great Buddhist Temple. If it was only at this level, how could it occupy such an important position? Could it be that the way I used it was wrong? Or perhaps the skill was incomplete? With the appearance of a new problem, Zhou Fu's happy mood disappeared in the blink of an eye. He couldn't figure it out. Even after many experiments, he still couldn't find a clue. Forget it. Let's put this problem aside for now. Currently, there were still 3 main cultivation techniques that had yet to be upgraded. First, I need to max out the adamant battle body. Next is the spring breeze and rain body nourishing art, which increases my recovery ability. After a slight calculation, Zhou Fu's mood became even worse. At this moment, there were still 6 days before the date set by the Ho clan. It was simply not enough for all of his martial arts to reach the maximum level. There was no need to even talk about strengthening one's characteristics. No, I can't use all the experience points to improve my martial arts. At the very least, I have to leave enough experience points to improve my realm, just in case. However, what kind of realm was Exuvia? What's the difference between this and blood exchange? With all sorts of questions in mind, he walked out of the training room. Young master, you've finished cultivating. Yuju shouted in surprise. Zhou Fu, who was still thinking about the problem, turned his head when he heard the voice. At this moment, he looked a little confused, and a lot of his energy was still thinking about the problem. Oh, I finished my cultivation today, so I came out to get some fresh air. Yuju pointed to the side and said, what a coincidence, that was just done 2 days ago. It's just right for young master to rest. Take a look, are you satisfied? Zhou Fu followed Yuju's guidance and looked over. The scene at the side made him stunned for a moment. If I didn't remember wrongly, that side was a wall previously, right? When did an additional door appear? You did it. Yuju smiled and did not explain. She brought Zhou Fu into the door. Crossing the courtyard door, a warm wind blew over. This is in the courtyard, there was a pond, a rockery, and a waterside pavilion. The most important thing was that the plants here were actually all overflowing with greenery. There was not the slightest trace of winter bleakness. Yuju smiled and explained, young master, there's a hot spring in this courtyard. Huang Feng arranged a large number of people and spent more than 3 months before the spring water was let over. Yuju pointed to the 2-story pavilion not far away. Those things were rushed out by Huang Feng after spending a lot of effort. Young master, why don't you go up and take a look? Although Zhou Fu knew that he was very rich, the situation before his eyes still made him secretly shocked in his heart. Could it be that this was the correct way to spend money? This is King life. In the pavilion next to the artificial lake, the entire room was carpeted with good quality. There are all kinds of furniture here. Although Zhou Fu could not tell what material it was made of, at first glance, he could tell that it was not ordinary. On a carpet that was said to be made of gold silk cashmere, there was a recliner made of dark redwood. Zhou Fu was lying on the recliner. He turned his face sideways and looked through the window, taking in the scenery in the courtyard into his eyes. Young master, are you satisfied? Yuju's face was brimming with a happy smile. She was also shocked when she came to this courtyard for the first time. Satisfied, of course I'm satisfied. Zhou Fu felt that his body was as light as a feather at this moment. If you're not satisfied with this, then I don't know what true satisfaction is. It's best that you're satisfied, young master. In that case, you should rest first. I'll bring you the food now. He did not know if it was the effect of the beautiful scenery or the money. Previously, Zhou Fu still had a lot of pressure in his heart, but now his heart was much clearer. Ha! Suddenly, Zhou Fu let out a mocking laugh. No one knew who he was laughing at. After eating, they took a simple rest for a while. Zhou Fu left the courtyard and returned to the training room. Although I can't cultivate my inner strength, I still have to practice martial arts moves every day. By the way, I haven't practiced saber techniques in a long time, right? He looked at the long saber hanging on the wall of the training room. It was taken out from the arsenal at home by Zhou Datsai the last time he went back. The extraordinary expert who followed the two of them in at that time was very shocked when he saw this saber. He took the long saber from the wall and unsheathed it with a whoosh. Saber techniques, Zhou Fu muttered. Then he thought of Xing Gang. It seems that he hasn't fulfilled his promise to send me saber techniques, right? Should I go and remind him? At this moment, a strange feeling welled up in his heart. He turned around and looked in the direction of the door. Since you're here, why don't you come in? Zhou Fu looked at the door and said. With a creak, the door opened. Not bad. You noticed me as soon as I arrived at the door. Are you really in the blood reformation realm? Xing Gang walked in with a surprised expression and sized up Zhou Fu. It seemed that he wanted to see something from Zhou Fu. Wow, what a strong young inner strength. As expected of the top cultivation technique of the Defo Temple. Third brother really put in a lot of effort. Xing Gang shook his head and sighed. At the same time, he was secretly shocked. He remembered that last time in the forest, he fought with Zhou Fu. At that time, Zhou Fu didn't have such a strong aura. It hadn't been long, but the other party seemed to have made great achievements in this cultivation technique. Was this what a genius was like? Congratulations, you seem to have broken through again. You're too polite. It's all because of hard work and perseverance that I can achieve what I have today. Secmaster, this way please. There was no furniture in the training room. There was only a small table against the wall with 2 chairs on each side. That was all. After leading Xing Gang to a chair and sitting down, Zhou Fu poured tea for the two of them and asked, I wonder why the Secmaster is here today? Xing Gang sized up the room, retracted his gaze, and gave Zhou Fu a deep look. At this time, a question popped up in his mind, and he couldn't help but blurt out, Zhou Fu, what's the purpose of your cultivation? Purpose? Zhou Fu was stunned by the sudden question, and it was a slightly strange one at that. What did he mean? There was nothing wrong with Xing Gang, right? He came to find me in broad daylight just to ask this. He shook his head inwardly, indicating that he couldn't understand. Zhou Fu thought for a moment and said helplessly, back then, I started cultivating because I wanted to have a stronger body. Later, I had a younger cousin who wanted to climb up the social ladder and attacked me. At that time, I was cultivating to save my life. Later, after seeing what was suppressed under Heong City, I worked even harder to cultivate. After that, I came to Ning and East City. Originally, I came to seek refuge with the Red Sea Gang. But that group of bastards took my family's business and wanted to harm me. Oh, now that I think about it, I was actually trying to save my life all this time. After recalling, Zhou Fu's face showed a pained expression. So I was so powerful, but I was forced to do it. Not only Zhou Fu, even Xing Gang, who was sitting opposite Zhou Fu and asked this question, was also stunned. What a joke. Zhou Fu, who had stirred up a storm in Ning Enong City, had actually come to this point in order to save his life. If this story were to spread, even ghosts wouldn't believe it. This is really... All of a sudden, Xing Gang did not know what words he should use to describe his feelings. He was at a loss for words. It's just fate playing with people. The two of them were silent for a while. Zhou Fu opened his mouth and summarized what he said above. What a good fate playing with people. Xing Gang shook his head. Looking at Zhou Fu with a smile on his face and a teacup in his hand, he just looked at him without saying a word. Xing Gang reacted. He was waiting for him to speak. So, he said, I came here for 2 things. He took out 2 books from his arms and put them on the table. These are 2 saber techniques. Both of them are peak Earth stage. I think, with your current strength, cultivating martial arts below this level won't have any effect. 7 Killing Saber, Dazzling Sun Slash. Xing Gang pointed at the 7 Killing Saber and said, the so-called peak Earth stage martial arts have already touched the edge of the concept. The difference between Heaven stage martial arts and other martial arts is the true meaning of the martial arts. This saber technique focuses the most on killing intent. Unfortunately, This saber technique originally had the potential to become a heaven stage martial art. Unfortunately, the person who created this saber technique had a problem with his brain and was besieged to death. Chapter 247. Shingang shrugged and said, "You are cultivating a Buddhist technique, so it has a restraining effect on martial arts that affect one's mind. Of course, even though you can activate the saber technique, there are disadvantages as well. Restraining the killing intent will cause the effect of the saber technique to decrease. I estimated that you can probably unleash the effect of an earth-level inferior grade saber technique. However, the most important thing about this is the true intent of martial arts. It would be best if you could comprehend it and integrate it into your saber technique." He pointed to the other book, Bright Sun Slash, and said, "Speaking of true intent, I have to mention this saber technique. It is also an earth-level peak-grade saber technique, and it is quite compatible with the Great Sun True Energy. It might even allow you to comprehend the true core of the Great Buddhist Temple, the true intent of the Great Sun. That plaything, TSK, incredible. That is even better than the Xing family's. True intent." Shingang shook his head with a rueful expression. Zhou Fu, who was listening attentively, tried his best not to reveal a strange expression, but his heart was in turmoil. True core? True intent of the Great Sun? What does that mean? Zhou Fu asked curiously as he tried to calm himself down. Shingang was stunned, and he looked at Zhou Fu strangely. It was ridiculous that he could achieve what he had today with such poor knowledge of martial arts. Was he really being fed by the heavens? There was envy and a sigh in his eyes. In short, it was rather complicated. Let's put it this way. I said just now that the difference between a heaven-level technique and other techniques is the true intent of the martial arts. As long as it has the true intent of the martial arts, it is a heaven-level technique. Otherwise, it is not. And the true intent of the martial arts is not simply limited to a certain technique. However, there is a degree of compatibility for the technique. For example, if you comprehend the true intent of the saber technique, you can activate the true intent of the martial arts when you use other weapons. However, the effect is not as good as when you use a saber. You understand this, right? Zhou Fu nodded to show that he understood. As for the true intent of the Great Sun, it is a rather terrifying true intent of the martial arts. According to the clan's elders, it was like the descent of the Great Sun, burning everything. Although it's exaggerated quite a bit, it can still reflect the terrifying side of it. What's even more terrifying is that the true will of the Great Sun is compatible with almost all cultivation techniques. Oh, except for those from the demonic sections. Shingang explained, "Don't look at me. I have never met a Buddhist expert who has cultivated the true meaning of the Great Sun. Those people don't come out often." He changed the topic and said, "That monk you met last time, I reckon he has already touched the threshold of the true meaning of the Great Sun. Who knows, the next time you meet him, you might be able to experience it." "That monk?" Zhou Fu nodded and picked up the dazzling sun slash. The creator of this saber art had a good friend from the great Buddhist temple. It was said that when he created this saber technique, he even consulted the true meaning of the Great Sun. Therefore, whether or not you can gain anything will depend on yourself. "Why?" Zhou Fu asked. What do you mean, why?" Shingang asked in surprise. Zhou Fu pointed to the 2 secret manuals on the table and said, "These things are definitely not from the sect, right? Especially this dazzling sun slash. So I want to know why." Shingang's face revealed a smile and said, "It's good that you understand. As for why, it's also one of the reasons why I came to find you today. The matter that my third brother told you to do, did he ask you to make a move at some point?" "Yes." "Then do you know what you will lose?" "Lose?" Zhou Fu frowned, thought for a moment, and then said, "Even if I have to make a move, it will be under the circumstances where I can do it. I won't go to the extent of courting death." No. Shingang shook his head repeatedly and said, "That's not what I meant." However, he did not explain clearly. Instead, he changed the topic and said, "Recently, a lot of people have come in Ningen. You know about this, right?" Seeing Zhou Fu nod, he continued. You probably don't know why they're here, right? He. Third brother didn't tell you, did he? Hearing the other party say this, Zhou Fu was even more confused. What did he mean? Why was it related to Xing Feng again? Since third brother didn't tell you, then, as the leader, I naturally have to talk to my vice leader. At this moment, Xing Gang's face revealed a proud smile, and there was even a hint of a mischievous smile. In the northeast of Ning and East City, at the intersection of 3 rivers, there is a secret realm. There are a lot of good things inside, and of course there are also some foreign races. Every 3 years, the secret realm will open once. At that time, the government will issue a bounty and gather the idle people in the martial arts world to go in and deal with those foreign races. Also by some of the things inside. Secret realm? It's not easy to explain the secret realm. Just treat it as a hidden place that can only be entered once every 3 years. As for the purchase, it's the same as the bounty of an assassin organization. Of course, if you want to keep it for yourself, no one will stop you. But basically, no one will do that. Zhou Fu's eyes flashed, and he asked why. Why? Most of the people who accept the bounty are idle cultivators. They are very lacking in cultivation resources, and the things inside are mostly raw materials that they can't use. The government will use some finished cultivation resources to exchange for those raw materials. Why don't you think others are willing? Zhou Fu nodded. That was indeed the case. His influence was not small now, but it was still very difficult for him to refine the blood yang pill. Moreover, those people who ran around the martial arts world did not have a stable way to obtain resources. After thinking it through, Zhou Fu was even more confused. What do these things have to do with his promise to Xing Feng? He could not help but ask, that's it? Of course not. Seeing Zhou Fu's confused look, Xing Feng seemed to enjoy it very much. The aristocratic families will cooperate with those who perform well to do something else. Third brother's request to you is, for that matter. What is it? A red glow flashed across Xing Gang's eyes as he said, the Foundation Establishment Mystic Realm. Zhou Fu raised his eyebrows and said, I don't understand. Xing Gang's expression froze. He suddenly felt that he had been blinded by his emotions. All right. The so-called Foundation Establishment Mystic Realm is a group of people going to another mystic realm to fight for the Foundation Establishment techniques and elixirs. Zhou Fu asked in surprise. These things sound very ordinary. Doesn't the Xing family have them? Of course not. Xing Gang shook his head. These things are different. It's not that the Xing family has not obtained them before, but they can't be passed down. It's the same for others. However, they do have top powers like the Great Buddhist Temple and Shanqing Hall. But so what? Ordinary people can't obtain them. Therefore, we can only snatch them. Xing Gang's face revealed a bitter smile. Shanqing Hall, that was the name of a new power. However, this had nothing to do with Zhou Fu. Those real big powers were too far away from him. What's the use of Foundation Establishment? Xing Gang sighed. He composed himself and said, this matter concerns the future of transcending mortality. It's useless to tell you. As for Foundation Establishment, it's used to temper the body. If you want to break through transcending mortality, you must have a Foundation Establishment technique. Otherwise, everything will be in vain. He looked at Zhou Fu and said, Third brother will probably ask you to go to Ning and Mystic Realm to increase your strength before bringing you to the Foundation Establishment Mystic Realm. He wants you to help him fight for the Foundation Establishment technique at the crucial moment. You must know that a Foundation Establishment technique can only be cultivated by one person. Seeing that Zhou Fu wanted to speak, Xing Gang hurriedly said, Don't think about secretly cultivating someone else's Foundation Establishment technique. It's not written in a book. The person who obtains it can only cultivate it by himself. He can't talk about it. Zhou Fu asked, Is there only one technique in each mystic realm? No, there's more than one. However, you don't think you can snatch it, do you? Xing Gang said, If you lose this opportunity, you'll have to wait for 5 years. The Foundation Establishment Mystic Realm opens once every 5 years. Zhou Fu fell silent. 5 years. It had only been a little more than a year since he started cultivating to the 3 realms of blood transformation. According to the progress of the support, he would not only be able to reach extraordinary level 9 in a year at most, but he would also be able to raise all his martial arts to the maximum level. What about the rest of the time? Was he really going to waste it? No. Zhou Fu suddenly remembered that he had a foundation establishment technique. He called out the support interface. In the secret technique column, there was a foundation establishment technique. Shang Yuan. His little teacher gave it to him privately before leaving. In that case, it seemed that he didn't need it anymore. With this guarantee, the depression in Zhou Fu's heart was swept away. He looked at Xing Gang with a gloomy expression. Gang leader Xing, you said so much. Do you have other plans? Xing Gang chuckled. Of course. When the time comes, I hope you won't make a move. However, to his surprise, Zhou Fu shook his head and refused. He said no. I already promised Xing Feng that I would make a move once. You already know the ins and outs, and you still want to make a move? Xing Gang didn't understand. That person was going to waste 5 years of your time. That was 5 years. Many things could happen in that time. Are you crazy? Or did you not understand what I said just now? I understand very well. But, gang leader Xing, since I promised, I naturally have to do it. This is a person's bottom line. As a reward for my help, Xing Feng has already paid. I naturally can't break my promise. When doing things, you have to follow the rules. Otherwise, the troublesome matter won't be solved in 5 years. Hey, you're a man of your word. Fine. Since it's like this, I won't say anymore. The thing I promised you last time, I've already delivered it to you. We're even now. After saying this, Xing Gang got up and was about to leave. At this time, Zhou Fu opened his mouth and stopped him. Gang leader Xing, I still have something to ask of you. Oh, Xing Feng's eyes moved and sat down again. Gang leader Xing, I want information about the Exuvia realm. What? Exuvia? Xing Gang suddenly opened his eyes wide. Chapter 248. You're at the peak of the blood-changing realm? MHM. Zhou Fu nodded. There was nothing to hide about this. Now, that Ning and City's secret realm was about to open. He had to enter for the sake of cultivation resources. According to Xing Gang's analysis, there would definitely be a tough battle inside. Hence, no matter how hard he tried to hide it, he still had to reveal it. Whoosh! Xing Gang leaned back in his chair and calmed down for a while. Amazing, amazing! How long has it been? And you're about to break through to the extraordinary state. As though thinking of something, Xing Gang's eyes lit up, and he asked, is your cultivation speed related to the body refinement hall's cultivation technique? Looking at Xing Gang's expression, Zhou Fu's heart skipped a beat. There are some. He wasn't lying. After all, the absorption ability of the 3 wheels origin transformation divine art was still very strong. It saved him a lot of time to absorb and convert. Exchange. Xing Gang licked his lips. Don't you want information about the mortal evolution state? I can give you information about the first 3 levels in exchange for the secret to speed up your cultivation. Remember, it's not just the cultivation technique, but also the information to speed up your cultivation. The first 3 levels. Zhou Fu was a little dissatisfied. According to his cultivation speed, the first 3 levels were too little. Seeing Zhou Fu's dissatisfied expression, Xing Gang said, it's enough. The information I'm giving you isn't something you can find on the market. It's the conclusion of generations of the Xing family. Those outside can't compare to our family. As expected, these families had special information in their hands. Technology lockdown. Seeing that Zhou Fu didn't say anything, Xing Gang continued. Let me tell you, you've already profited greatly from this deal. You have to know that my aptitude is also superior. Even without these things, when the foundation establishment mystic realm opens, I can still reach extraordinary level 3 and above. As for you, it's hard to say. Zhou Fu's eyes flashed, but he didn't say anything. Xing Gang continued. The mystic realm is about to open, so there will naturally be a gathering. Even though we'll be able to obtain information about the Exuvia realm at that gathering, it's definitely not as safe and comprehensive as the Xing families. Cultivation is a very rigorous thing. Although Zhou Fu knew that the other party was trying to lower the price, just like Xing Gang said, he needed detailed information. All right, I'll change it. A smile appeared on Xing Gang's face. All right, I'll look for you again tomorrow. Bye. After the other party left, Zhou Fu closed his eyes and digested the information he had just received. True intent of the Great Sun. Foundation establishment, arcane effort. These two words kept circling in Zhou Fu's mind as he calculated the order of his next upgrade. If it's a foundation establishment cultivation method, I'm not sure how others use it. According to my previous experience, this thing consumes a lot of energy, so I have to prepare enough pills. Other than that, I also need to raise the level of the spring breeze and rain body, nourishing art to the max. No. If I do that, there might be problems at the Ho family's side. Originally, Zhou Fu planned to raise the level of the adamantine battle body first, but after obtaining the information about the foundation establishment cultivation method today, he decided to temper his body first. As for the other cultivation methods, their priority had to be lowered. But when he thought of the Ho family, his plans still had to change. Unfortunately, the time is too short. In a few more days, those bastards will come knocking on my door. Thinking up to here, Zhou Fu's eyes flashed with dense, killing intent. This was going to interrupt his cultivation. Ho family. Damn it, I'm going to exterminate you. After choosing the brilliant sun slash, Zhou Fu put away the other 7 killing saber. He took down the family heirloom saber that was placed on a shelf. TSK. I've already forgotten your name. No, I don't think I've given you a name. Zhou Fu thought for a while. Giving a name, this sort of thing, was very brain-burning. Suddenly, his gaze swept to the saber manual in his hand. All right, from now on, you'll be called Brilliant Sunday. Zhou Fu's inner strength was the Great Sun True Qi, and with the support of the Ming King scripture, he activated the Great Sun True Meaning. Naming this saber Brilliant Sun did not seem to be a problem. Ding! Cultivation method successfully loaded. Zhou Fu opened the auxiliary interface. Brilliant Sun Slash. Level 06, characteristic, high temperature. Closing the auxiliary interface, Zhou Fu began to familiarize himself with the moves in the cultivation method. In the winter afternoon, in the courtyard in front of the training room, the saber light flashed. As the saber technique unfolded, the saber controlling technique that he used to use the armor-breaking saber resurfaced in his mind. For a time, the proficiency level increased rapidly. After the 10th time of practicing the saber technique, a prompt suddenly sounded. Ding! Brilliant Sun / level increased. The sudden change stunned Zhou Fu for a moment. He opened the auxiliary interface, and the level of the Brilliant Sun / in the cultivation method column had indeed become 16. This is a bit interesting. In other words, I can increase the level of the martial arts without the auxiliary interface. Staring at the page for a while, Zhou Fu sighed. Unfortunately, the auxiliary interface does not have a specific proficiency level. If I can increase the proficiency level through cultivation and then increase the level of the martial arts, then it will be a lot easier. Ding! Insufficient energy. Activation of the proficiency function failed. Zhou Fu opened his mouth wide. This thing actually responded to him. He quickly asked, "What kind of energy do I need? How much?" However, this time, there was no response for a long time. Zhou Fu did not give up and asked a few more questions. Still not getting a response, he could only reluctantly give up. Let me think. If it's energy, it should be the so-called active energy. In other words, if I want more comprehensive auxiliary functions, I can only go and hunt those foreign races. I have no choice but to go to the secret realm this time. The sun set very early in the winter, and the sky was already dark. I'm not going to practice today. Rest up. I still have to earn experience tomorrow. After eating, he returned to his room to rest. At midnight, Zhou Fu, who was sleeping soundly, suddenly opened his eyes. He got up and slowly put on his clothes. Walking to the front door, he opened it. Winter night, light wind. Zhou Fu said to the empty yard, "Disturbing my sleep in the middle of the night. If you don't say something, I still have an empty room in the dungeon." As his voice fell, the sound of clothes fluttering in the air was heard. In the night sky, a black figure landed. Can't even remove the sound of movement. This person is very ordinary. Zhou Fu thought. The black figure landed. From the figure, it was a woman. A familiar voice sounded. Young Master Zhou, long time no see. Zhou Fu frowned. After thinking for a while, a figure appeared in his mind. Hiyuo? Ha 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 ha, it is me. The black figure walked closer and took off the veil on her face. It was Hiyuo from Heong City. What are you doing here? Facing Zhou Fu's impolite question, Hiyuo, it did not mind. She smiled and said, Young Master Zhou, aren't you going to invite me in? No matter what, we're old friends. Also, in my body, there's something that young Master Zhou left behind. Hearing this, Zhou Fu raised his eyebrows and moved aside, allowing her to enter the room. After entering the room, Hiyuo kept looking around. Young Master Zhou's room is really simple. Zhou Fu did not reply. He closed the door and walked to the chair and sat down. Looking at her eyes, he asked, Tell me, what is it that you want in the middle of the night? Young Master Zhou, Hiyuo moaned. Without waiting for her to continue, a huge sense of danger rose in her heart, making her swallow the rest of her words. Zhou Fu's expression was indifferent. His eyes flashed with a white gold light. Ha ha! Hiyuo laughed awkwardly. Then she straightened her face and said, I have something to discuss with you. Speak. Facing Zhou Fu's indifferent expression, Hiyuo was indignant, but her instincts told her not to be presumptuous. I heard that a few days ago, the whole family came to you and wanted to take your property? Yes, that's true. Why? Do you want to get involved? Hiyuo smiled and said, Of course. Oh, Zhou Fu was surprised. But I'm not from the whole family. I'm here on behalf of the Wonderful Desire Sect to cooperate with you. The Wonderful Desire Sect? How do you want to cooperate? Hearing Zhou Fu's question, Hiyuo's eyes flashed. Even her tone was filled with joy. Zhou Fu said coldly, This is the last time. Put away your charm. It's a misunderstanding. Hiyuo quickly said, I couldn't help it. I hope you won't take it to heart. After apologizing, she quickly changed the topic and said, The whole family is backed by an extraordinary expert from a Xingfu temple. The Wonderful Desire Sect will also send an extraordinary expert to fight them. The whole family will be dealt with by you. Once the matter is settled, the Wonderful Desire Sect wants 70% of the profits from the Powder Music Workshop. 70%? Zhou Fu laughed. Yes, 70%. He didn't think much of it and continued. Moreover, if the Wonderful Desire Sect needs help in Ning and East City, you'll have to help. Of course, we'll also compensate you. Zhou Fu sneered and said, Do you think I'm a beggar? No matter what, I still have the giant whale behind me. Young Master, your surname isn't Xing. That giant whale is the property of the Xing family. It won't help you with everything. Zhou Fu shook his head and said, No matter what, I'm still the deputy leader of the giant whale. Of course, Hiyuo knew about this. According to her intelligence, the reason why Zhou Fu could become the deputy leader was because the sect wanted to keep another deputy leader in check. That was why Zhou Fu took the position. The smile on Hiyuo's face disappeared. She looked straight at Zhou Fu and said slowly, Young Master, are you rejecting the Wonderful Desire Sect's good intentions? Good intentions? Zhou Fu was so angry that he laughed. He waved his hand and said, You can understand it that way. All right, it's late. You should go back. Hiyuo's face was instantly covered with a layer of frost. A cold light appeared in her eyes. Young Master Zhou, aren't you afraid that you'll have another enemy? Before she could finish her sentence, a large hand enlarged in front of her eyes. At the same time, she felt her eyes suddenly brighten, as if she was under the scorching sun. She felt pain all over her body, as if she was being burned by flames. He even forgot to dodge the attack. Smack! Zhou Fu grabbed Hiyuo's head and lifted her up with one hand. Remember next time, if you want to threaten others, you must at least have the strength. Chapter 249. Bang! Bang! The window of the room suddenly exploded. Two figures rushed in. Let go of my miss. The two people who rushed and roared and attacked at the same time. The energy in the room was surging. Two white jade-like palms struck out. Circles of light cyan energy swirled around and hit Zhou Fu directly. Zhou Fu grabbed Hiu with one hand and activated his internal force to disperse the internal force in her body. At the same time, the overbearing grandson genuine Qi made her muscles and bones extremely sore. For a moment, she lost the ability to move like a puppet and could only let Zhou Fu grab her. At this moment, the attack had arrived in front of him. The strong wind hit him. Zhou Fu's pupils contracted. Pale golden light flowed all over his body. He raised his right arm and straightened his palm like a knife. Standing still, his right palm was like a long knife and chopped out horizontally. He had been practicing the brilliant sun slash the whole afternoon. With his strike, he had used the corresponding move. At the same time, the true meaning of grandson was activated. The two people who attacked Zhou Fu dared to be arrogant when they saw him. Not only did he fight against two people alone, but he also dared to fight against them with one hand. The two people were so angry that their blood was surging in their chests, and their eyes were bloodshot. Bastard! How dare you look down on me? One arrogant boy! Go to hell! The two people shouted angrily and increased the strength of their palms. It looked like they were going to kill Zhou Fu directly. The next moment, the two people's palms hit Zhou Fu's palm knife. Bang! The three palms collided together. The energy burst out. The two people who attacked Zhou Fu changed their faces greatly. What is this? How could it be? A tyrannical force flowed through their arms. The energy around their arms collapsed in an instant. Even the internal force in the meridians of their arms was shaken off. Then a strong burning pain came. The force came quickly, and the pain made the two people absent-minded for a moment. The internal force that they had refined for decades could not resist that kind of force at all. It collapsed at the touch. Their eyes were wide open and full of horror. In the next moment, that power exploded within their bodies. The two of them flew out of the window as if they had been hit by a speeding car and landed in the courtyard. At this moment, the guard in the mansion had also rushed over. For a moment, the courtyard was brightly lit. Inside the room, Zhou Fu's face was full of astonishment. He looked at his hands for a while, then looked at the broken window for a while. He was completely at a loss. What's going on? That was caused by me. Something's not right. Judging from momentum of those two people's attacks, they are both at the Exuvia realm. Although he knew that he could suppress those at the level 1 of Exuvia and even those at the level 2 of Exuvia. However, in the current situation where he had to face two extraordinary experts at the same time and was defeated by him, he was at a loss. It turned out that the other party was very weak and I was very strong. The noise in the courtyard grew louder and louder, awakening Zhou Fu from his confusion. Carrying Hiu, he flashed into the courtyard. When the guard saw Zhou Fu come out, they hurriedly bowed and said, "This subordinate greets Your Excellency." Zhou Fu waved his hand and said to the guards, "Check if they are dead or not." The two people on the ground were no longer moving. One of the guards bent down and placed his finger on the other party's neck. In the next moment, as if he was pierced by a sharp weapon, he suddenly retracted his finger. Then, the guard kept swinging his hand as if he was scalded by the high temperature. "Your Excellency, this person's body is abnormally hot, like a red-hot soldering iron." Soldering iron? Zhou Fu walked over in astonishment, stretched out his hand, and carefully touched it. "Your Excellency, be careful. It's fine. This is..." Zhou Fu's eyes flickered. Could this be the so-called true meaning of the Great Sun? With my current strength, I can actually defeat two extraordinary experts. This power is indeed a bit tyrannical. He said to the surrounding guards, "Leave these two people here. You guys can leave." The guards looked at each other and then answered, "Yes, sir." After the guards left, Zhou Fu released his hand. Smack! Hiu fell to the ground. At this moment, without Zhou Fu's suppression, the inner force in her body began to circulate again. She hurriedly retreated to the side. After she steadied herself, she looked at the two experts lying on the ground. They... At this moment, Hiu's heart was filled with horror. Her eyes were also full of fear as she looked at Zhou Fu. How long had it been? That country bumpkin from back then actually had such strength now. Young Master Zhou, tonight, it's all a misunderstanding. Zhou Fu waved his hand and said, "Take them and get out." He reached out his right hand and swept his fingers over the two people on the ground. In an instant, the scalding temperature quickly receded. He nodded and grabbed the two people. Then, she used her movement technique and disappeared into the night sky. Looking at the night sky, Zhou Fu suddenly grinned. He turned around and was about to return to his room when he stopped. The broken window and the broken door all pointed to one thing. He would not be able to sleep in there tonight. The next day, in the attic of the hot spring garden. "Young master, the window in your room has been repaired. Because of the unexpected situation last night, Zhou Fu rested here for the night. Furthermore, he had also completed his training there." "Okay, got it." Yuzhu hesitated for a moment and said, "Young master, I asked the craftsman to build a few extra windows and a door. The next time something like this happens, they can be replaced directly. It'll be very fast." After hearing this, Zhou Fu looked at Yuzhu in shock. For a moment, he did not know what to say. He was tired. "You're very considerate. This is what I should do." Yuzhu unceremoniously accepted the so-called praise. "Okay, don't be silly." Zhou Fu stood up and went to the window. "I'm going to cultivate." As his voice fell, he tiptoed on the railing, crossed the garden, and landed at the door of the cultivation room on the other side of the wall. After cultivating during the day, his experience points had accumulated to 30%. Behind the level of adamant war body, the plus sign that represented leveling up lit up. Level up. Ding. Adamant war body leveled up successfully. Current level. Heat flowed in his body, and the muscles all over his body quickly became more solid. At the same time, the meridians all over his body became more resilient. The width was also widened and could accommodate more inner strength. Zhou Fu looked at the status panel, and his eyes suddenly focused. "I only used 10% of my experience points." He turned to look at adamant war body and saw that the plus sign behind the level was still there. In other words, he could level it up again. Level up. As the prompt sounded, adamant war body reached level 5, and his whole body was strengthened again. At this time, adamant war body was only 2 levels away from the maximum level of level 7, and there was still 5% of his experience points left. There were still 5 days until the Ho family came. In the next 4 days, he could still accumulate 120% of his experience points. No, if he counted the 10th day, he could accumulate 150%. According to today's consumption, my adamant war body can be maxed out before the Ho family comes. Moreover, I can still have enough experience points to level up. At this time, Zhou Fu's happy expression froze. The training room's door was pushed open from the outside. "What happened to make you so happy? Tell me." Xing Gang walked in as if he was entering his own room. He walked straight to the chair by the wall and sat down. His right hand reached into his chest, took out a booklet, and placed it on the table beside him. He raised his index finger and tapped on the booklet twice. "I brought the thing you wanted. How's the preparation of the thing I wanted?" The other party's arrogance made Zhou Fu very unhappy, but there was nothing he could do. He still didn't have the strength to crush Xing Gang. He suppressed the anger in his heart and walked over. He said, "I want to take a look at the thing first. After I confirm that there are no problems, I will naturally give you what you want." When he heard that Zhou Fu wanted to check the goods first, it was obvious that he didn't trust him. Xing Gang didn't care about this. He pushed the booklet towards Zhou Fu and gestured for him to take a look. Zhou Fu sat down, took the booklet, and started flipping through it. The booklet wasn't thick. It was made up of 8 pages. The Exuvia realm is mainly about opening the acupoints and then refining them. It's easy to say, but it's very difficult to do. You must know that the position of the acupoints on everyone's body is different. However, it's not completely random. They exist in the 4 limbs and 5 internal organs of the human body. There are a total of 9 acupoints, which also correspond to the 9 stages of the Exuvia realm. Seeing that Zhou Fu started flipping through the booklet, Xing Gang explained to him, "The booklet I brought you records the techniques to find the acupoints on the 4 limbs and the method to refine them. Zhou Fu, who was reading the book, suddenly frowned. He pressed his finger on a line of words and turned his head to ask, "The book says that the same acupoint will have different effects on different people." "Yes." Xing Gang nodded. "So everything depends on the will of the heavens?" Xing Gang grinned. "That's right. It depends on luck. For example, the Xing acupoint is generally used to increase speed. This includes movement skills, inner strength circulation, and so on. This is the most basic effect and also something that is widely known. However, what ordinary people don't know is that you can use inner strength to stimulate the acupoints and then cause the acupoints to have a strange change, which can then feed back to the body. Very few of those loose cultivators know about this. Even if they know, no one will say it out." Pointing at the booklet in Zhou Fu's hands, Xing Gang said, "There are 3 methods to stimulate acupoints in this book. It can make the acupoints on your legs and right arm change." "How is it? Is it worth it?" "The method to stimulate each acupoint is different. Of course. Otherwise, the world wouldn't be like this." Zhou Fu finished flipping through the booklet and nodded. "Good. The secret to my fast cultivation speed is one of the body tempering hall's 4 great godly techniques, the 3 wheels origin transformation divine technique." Xing Gang's eyes flashed. "I didn't expect it to be this technique." Zhou Fu didn't reply. Instead, he dictated the technique's key points. "Wait a minute." Xing Gang interrupted Zhou Fu after hearing his explanation. Seeing Zhou Fu's unhappy expression, he explained, "I don't mean anything else. I have this technique at home too, but it seems to be a little different from what you said." The Xing family actually had this technique. Zhou Fu thought for a while and said, "It's not surprising that there are some differences. I collected and pieced together this technique myself, and then deduced it according to my understanding. Compared to the original, there are naturally some differences." "You deduced it?" Xing Gang's eyes widened when he heard this. Chapter 250. "What? Can I?" Zhou Fu asked back. He didn't care about Zhou Fu's angry tone. Sizing up Zhou Fu incessantly, he clicked his tongue in wonder and said, "Back then, I thought that you relied on your talent to cultivate to this level. I didn't expect that I was wrong. Your greatest reliance is actually luck." "What do you mean?" Xing Gang laughed. "What do I mean? Of course, I'm saying that your life is really tough. A person who doesn't even know the basics of cultivation can actually deduce a technique of the level of the 3 wheels returning origin transforming technique. How dare you? Forget about the deduction. You really dare to cultivate. Not only did you not die, you even succeeded. In this world, people with good luck really make people jealous. I hate people like you. I hate you." Seeing that Zhou Fu was a little unhappy, Xing Gang didn't continue to speak. "In that case, do you still want to listen?" Zhou Fu asked. "Yes, of course." Thus, Zhou Fu continued to explain the 3 wheels origin transformation divine art. After an hour, he stopped. "I've already explained everything about this cultivation technique." Xing Gang pondered for a while. In his mind, he compared the cultivation technique that Zhou Fu deduced with the original version. He was silent for a while. Seeing that Xing Gang was deep in thought, Zhou Fu didn't rush him. Another hour passed. Xing Gang raised his head and said, "This cultivation technique of yours is really novel. I can't believe that this is something you deduced." Zhou Fu picked up his teacup and took a sip. "Our deal is complete." Xing Gang obviously knew that serving tea meant sending off a guest. He stood up and said, "In that case, I won't stay any longer. However, I found out today that there are still many opportunities for us to work together." And, looking at Zhou Fu's confused expression, Xing Gang said, "You have talent, but you lack information and knowledge. I can provide you with all of these things. Moreover, the things I mentioned were things that third brother couldn't bring out, or rather, he didn't dare to bring out. How about it? Are you tempted?" Without waiting for Zhou Fu to speak, Xing Gang continued, "However, now is not the time. I want to make sure that you're worth it for me to invest so much in you." It just so happened that the whole family had gathered 2 Exuvia experts, but they were both Exuvia level 1. These 2 aren't people those loose Exuvia cultivators of the pugilistic world can compare to. Finally, let me remind you, Buddhist cultivation techniques are famous for their resistance to attacks. As soon as he finished speaking, Xingang's figure flashed and turned into a scarlet shadow, disappearing from the room. Resistant to beatings, Zhou Fu muttered, then sneered disdainfully. Just nice. I also want to test out the true meaning of the Great Sun and see if it's them who can resist or me who can hit. For the next few days, Zhou Fu meditated in the morning to accumulate experience. In the afternoon, he cultivated dazzling sun slash, and his days were quite fulfilling. On the day the Ho family came, Zhou Fu, who was sitting cross-legged in the training room, opened his eyes. Vudra battle body leveled up. Ding. Vudra battle body leveled up successfully. Current level 6. Continue leveling up. Ding. Vudra battle body leveled up successfully. Current level 7. As the notification sounded, hot currents gushed out from Zhou Fu's body, constantly strengthening his body. Not bad. After reaching perfection, it can actually strengthen the internal organs. The strengthening of the internal organs made Zhou Fu very surprised. Before, this cultivation technique only strengthened the body. As for the internal organs, it relied on the body's reverse nurturing to be able to obtain a slight improvement. Circulating his inner strength, Zhou Fu felt it for a moment, and the joy on his face became even more intense. Not bad. Now my internal organs are 50% stronger than before. He called out the stats page and looked at the cultivation technique column. Vudra battle body. Level perfection. Realm beginner. Characteristics: physical strengthening, damage resistance. Damage resistance? Looking at the new stats, Zhou Fu raised his left arm, and a platinum light appeared on the fingertips of his right hand. Then he slashed his left arm. Zung. After the sound of metal scraping rang out, there was only a white mark on his left arm, and even the skin was not damaged. Seeing this, Zhou Fu's eyes flashed with a bright light. What a good damage resistance. That slash just now, even if it was a second blood transformation realm, as long as it wasn't a cultivator who specialized in body refining, it would still be able to open a wound. I didn't expect that it would only land on my body with a scratch. TSK, not bad, not bad. He happily muttered in a low voice. Suddenly, a trace of a smirk appeared on his face. Looks like there's going to be fun today. Let me see how strong the so-called disciples of famous sects are. Looking at the stats page, he had already accumulated 100% experience points. He sneered in his heart. Young master, shopkeeper Jean sent news that the Ho clan has already left. Yuju's voice sounded. When Zhou Fu arrived at the powder music workshop, Jin Peng, Duan Cheng, and the others hurriedly greeted him. Sir, the Ho clan's people are almost here. The one leading them was Ho Yong, who came to cause trouble. There were 8 monks in the group that came with him. This subordinate can't see through 2 of them. Duan Cheng quickly reported the information to Zhou Fu. After listening to the report, Zhou Fu didn't care. As of now, he had maxed out 2 of the powerful cultivation techniques he had learned. There was also the Earth Rank Brilliant Sun Slash. He had also leveled it up to level 4. 2 more levels, and it would be maxed out. Today, he even brought along the Long Saber Brilliant Sunday. He wanted to use the 2 Exuvia Realm monks to practice. At the same time, he wanted to test whether or not he could quickly accumulate proficiency points and increase his leveling speed. Zhou Fu nodded to Duan Cheng, indicating that he already knew. Then, he turned to look at Jin Peng and asked, the surrounding ordinary people have all been moved? There were still many ordinary people around the powder music workshop. A few days ago, Zhou Fu instructed Jin Peng to persuade the surrounding ordinary people to leave by today. After the matter was settled, he would let those people return. At that time, if there were any losses, he would arrange for compensation. After Jin Peng, who followed closely behind Zhou Fu, heard, he hurriedly said, this subordinate has already arranged it. The workers have also calculated the surrounding things. Everything is recorded. After saying that, he continued to praise, in today's world, to be able to meet such a kind-hearted person like Sir, it is also those people's fortune. Although there were suspicions of flattery, it wasn't too exaggerated. Fights between cultivators would more or less cause quite a bit of damage, but very few people would care about it. Of course, if there was a fight between different forces, the nature would be different. At that time, the officials would come forward and ask for compensation, and they could also make a fortune, driven by profits. The government even hoped that these gangs would cause trouble and fight in the downtown area whenever they had nothing to do. Just as they were chatting, a guard ran in from outside. "Sir, the people from the Ho family are here." Bang, bang, bang. Zhou Fu's heart beat quickly, and a surge of hot blood filled his body. He laughed heartily. At this moment, he felt that he was especially energetic. He grabbed the long saber with his left hand and unsheathed it with a whoosh. "Let's go." Jin Peng and Duan Cheng next to him were dumbfounded. What's going on? According to the procedure, shouldn't they talk first? Then, the conversation failed, and the atmosphere became tense. Then, they would start cursing and finally fight. Why did they draw their sabers before they even met? When they came out the door, there was no one else on the street except for the two groups of people. However, the restaurants near the street were full of people. In the best restaurant, there was a private room on the top floor. Zhao Wu, the guardian of Ningdong City, was sitting in the main seat. Next to him was Xing Zhengtu, the level 5 expert that the Xing family sent to the giant whale to guard the martial arts manuals. Next to him was Xing Gang. Sitting opposite Xing Gang was Zhu Daoan, the leader of the Red Sea Gang. On his left, near Zhao Wu, was Zhu Daoan's uncle. Like Xing Jingtu, he was also a level 5 expert, Zhu Honda. Look, everyone. Xing Jingtu pointed at the hostile street. Only the people of the giant whale are kind. If it were anyone else, who knows how many innocent people would have been killed. What does this mean? It means that the Xing family is full of good people. You can forget about it. Xing Jingtu, you have to know that a blind cat running into a dead mouse doesn't mean that you know how to catch mice. Zhu Honda sneered. The chopsticks in his hand shook, and a peanut on the plate was thrown at him. "Ha!" Xing Jingtu picked up the peanut with his chopsticks and said in the same disdainful tone as Zhu Honda, "So what? You're talking as if the Zhu family has anything good. If I remember correctly, your kid tore down a restaurant a few days ago." Sitting opposite Xing Gang, Zhu Daoan's face darkened, but there was a helpless look in his eyes. He replied, "Uncle Jingtu, can you not drag me into this? Besides, it's been a long time since that incident. It's been more than a year, right? Do you still remember?" "Hey, kid." Xing Jingtu shook his head with a smile. "How can I not remember? That was the first time Zhou Fu came to Ning in East City. Right? Speaking of which, I almost forgot. That Zhou Fu was going to your house, wasn't he? TSK, what a pity." Zhu Daoan's heart sank. He looked down at the plate in front of him and didn't say anything else. These people had already found out about Zhou Fu's matter. Almost everyone knew that the Zhu family had let a prodigy go. Later on, the Red Sea Gang's stronghold at Ning and East City's harbor was almost destroyed. No one would believe that it wasn't Zhou Fu's doing. "Oof, your Xing family sure knows how to take advantage of others. It was like this in the past, and it's still like this now." Zhu Honda scolded indignantly. Zhao Wu, the Ning and East City's garrison commissioner, was sitting in the main seat. He didn't care about the Xing and Zhu families' matters. Instead, he looked out the window and asked, "Two of those monks are at level 1 of the extraordinary realm, and they've even opened their acupoints. According to tradition, they should have opened the swordsman acupoint to strengthen their bodies. Also, if I'm not wrong, that Zhou kid is still at the blood transformation realm, right?" Chapter 251. At this time, Xing Gang opened his mouth and said, "Yes, Zhou Fu is now at the 3rd blood transformation realm." 3rd blood transformation realm. Zhao Wu muttered to himself, then asked Xing Gang, "What do you think Zhou Fu's chances of winning are?" Hearing Zhao Wu's question, everyone at the table looked at Xing Gang. Xing Gang smiled and said, "Chances of winning? That depends on how long Zhou Fu wants to play." "And? Play for how long?" Everyone around them had a strange expression. Xing Jingtu's expression changed slightly, and he asked in a deep voice, "That Zhou Fu can really fight 1 against 2? His opponent is still at the Exuvia realm?" Looking at his own uncle, Xing Gang sneered in his heart. If this old thing didn't stir things up, why would his third brother find Zhou Fu? However, he wasn't worried that Xing Jingtu would side with his third brother, unless the other party was looking for death. Just like that day 10 years ago, although he lost in the competition. However, many experts from his third brother's mother's family died later on. That family still hasn't recovered from the trauma they suffered. There was a deep meaning behind this. Xing Gang replied, "Uncle, you also know that Zhou Fu cultivated the body refining hall's specialty." At this point, Xing Zhengtu's expression darkened. Everyone present knew about Zhou Fu's cultivation method, but they couldn't say it out loud. However, Xing Gang ignored Xing Zhengtu's expression as if he didn't see it, and continued, "Moreover, I also fought with Zhou Fu before. I didn't expect him to cultivate the adamantine battle body to the advanced stage. My hand hurt, but he was still fine. At that time, he was only at the first blood transformation realm." At this moment, Xing Zhengtu's eyes were about to spit fire. How could he not know about this? If they had known about this, the Xing family would have settled today's matter. He would never let Zhou Fu be exposed to everyone like this. A strange smile appeared on Zhao Wu's face. Oh, was it really adamantine battle body? Where did he get it? Of course, Zhao Wu knew Zhou Fu's cultivation method. However, seeing that Xing Gang had already made things clear, he didn't mind adding fuel to the fire. After all, how could those who were here to watch the show complain that things were getting out of hand? Zhou Fu has a good friend, the eldest grandson of the Bai family, Bai Lang. It's him. Seeing that Xing Jingtu's face was almost as black as the bottom of a pot, as an old rival, Zhu Hongda also joined in. He said, "If I remember correctly, Bai Lang is the grandson-in-law of an expert in the body refining hall, right?" Xing Gang nodded. "That's right. Shut up." Xing Jingtu couldn't stand it anymore and scolded Xing Gang. Everything was almost clear, and he also knew that it wouldn't help even if he turned Xing Gang into a mute. However, he was still angry, and scolding him was also to vent. Hey, don't be so angry. It's not good for your health." Zhu Hongda dissuaded him hypocritically. As he expected, after hearing this, Xing Jingtu, who was sitting opposite him, rolled his eyes. At this moment, Zhu Daoan, who was sitting opposite Xing Gang, asked, "Even if Zhou Fu has cultivated the adamantine battle body to the advanced stage, he can't take on two extraordinary level 1 cultivators, right? Moreover, they have opened the swordsman acupoint." Xing Gang grinned. "I forgot to mention that Zhou Fu has also mastered the Great Sun True Energy of the Defo Temple." What? The Great Sun True Energy? Everyone present knew that the Great Sun True Energy and the adamantine battle body had a lot to do with each other. It could even be said that the adamantine battle body evolved from the Great Sun True Sutra. Where did Zhou Fu get the Great Sun True Energy? Xing Zhengtu's voice became shrill. Seeing that Xing Zhengtu was about to go berserk, Xing Gang was delighted. What was he afraid of? He wasn't the one who gave him the technique. Uncle, don't be angry. It's just the Great Sun True Energy. Not only that, but an expert from the Defo Temple also personally explained it to Zhou Fu. As soon as he said that, everyone fell silent. Xing Gang's words contained a lot of information. Everyone present was smart, and they instantly grasped the main points. First of all, the origin of the Great Sun True Energy in Zhou Fu's hands. Secondly, why did the expert from the Defo Temple appear and explain it to Zhou Fu? In the past, the expert from the Defo Temple was indebted to the Xing family, and he imparted the Great Sun True Energy to the Xing family as a form of repayment. Furthermore, the Xing family's third young master, Xing Feng, had once helped an expert from the Defo Temple. These old grudges surfaced in everyone's minds. If what Xing Gang said was true, then things would be interesting. Xing Jingtu was stunned for a moment, and then his gaze became fierce. He looked coldly at Xing Feng, nodded, and said, "Good. Very good. All of you. Very good." Zhu Daoan grinned. Seeing the internal strife in the Xing family today really made him feel very pleased. However, Xing Gang saw his expression. Xing Gang sneered. "Zhu Daoan, are you feeling very pleased?" No. Zhu Daoan hurriedly shook his head, indicating that he was not that kind of person. However, he could not hide the gloating smile on his face. Don't you think that you are celebrating too early? Zhu Daoan frowned at the sinister voice. Xing Gang, what do you mean? Did you damage your brain from training too much? Of course, the Zhu clan knew the truth behind Xing Feng's cultivation of the extreme Yang Burning Sky skill. The pain of being used as a test subject naturally became a target for attack. Indeed, Xing Gang's eyes lit up when he heard this. What? You want to fight? Xing Gang stared at Zhu Daoan and suddenly grinned. Zhu Daoan, the eldest of the three of us, already has a foundation establishment technique. You all know this. In 2 years, Xing Feng and I will fight for an opportunity. Of course, we may not have to fight for it. However, no matter what the outcome is, 2 of us will leave. The one who stays will become the leader of the Xing family. What exactly do you mean? Xing Gang chuckled. Even the expression on his face began to turn ferocious, revealing a hint of cruelty. The Zhu family also has 3 outstanding people in this generation. Unfortunately, none of them has a foundation establishment technique. When the time comes, the Zhu family will be very lively. I just don't know which of the 3 of you will be able to fight for that position. After Xing Gang finished speaking, Zhu Daoan felt that something was amiss. Suddenly, he understood. What did he mean by which of the 3 brothers would be able to take that position? According to Xing Gang, none of the 3 brothers would be able to obtain a technique in the foundation establishment competition in 2 years. Zhu Daoan's eyes turned pitch black, and black veins appeared at the corners of his eyes. It was obvious that the inner strength in his body had been activated. What's the use of looking at me? How many of us can compete with my big brother? When the foundation establishment mystic realm opens, will you be able to withstand it? Zhu Daoan snorted. Xing Zhen is powerful, but I don't know who he will help. Xing Gang chuckled. No matter who I help, I won't help you. Bastard. Enough. Zhu Hongda shouted in a low voice. He looked at Xing Jing too and said, the Xing family is lucky this time, but I don't know if it will continue. Hey, then you don't have to worry about it, Xing Jingtu retorted. Seeing that the 2 families had stopped arguing, Zhao Wu said, haha, this is a matter for the younger generation. Us old people shouldn't worry about it. Besides, the main character today is Zhou Fu. As Zhao Wu spoke, everyone turned to look at the street. On the street, Zhou Fu walked to the center and stabbed his long saber into the ground. On the opposite side, the Ho family team also saw Zhou Fu. The carriage at the front of the team stopped. A Ho family guard rushed to the side of the carriage and said something through the window. The curtain of the carriage was lifted, and a young man in his 20s walked out. He had an arrogant look on his face as he walked out of the carriage. Then, 2 monks came out of the carriage. When the young man saw Zhou Fu, his face was full of disdain. He pointed at Zhou Fu from afar. You are... Zhou Fu grinned and did not give the other party a chance to speak. He exerted force on his feet, and the bluestone paved ground cracked. Then he stomped his feet, and the ground shook. The cracked stone was shaken up. Immediately after, he kicked the stone with his inner strength and threw it over. The stones tore through the air and made a sharp sound. The Ho clan's troops were also stunned by this sudden change. What was going on? They had just met, and they had not even spoken a word. Why did they start fighting? How dare you? Bastard. 4 figures jumped out from the Ho family team behind them. They attacked at the same time, creating a strong wind as they hit the stones. Bang, 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 bang. The stones crumbled, and the power on them exploded. The inner force on the 4 people's arms instantly shattered, and the power poured into their bodies, shattering the protective force on their bodies. In the midst of screams, they vomited blood and flew back. The eyes of the 2 monks, standing at the front of the team, flashed. They looked at Zhou Fu again, and their eyes were different. What a powerful force. What a terrifying control. Such a powerful force wrapped around the shattered stones. After flying for more than 10 meters, he was still able to send the 4 Ho family guards flying. It was enough to show that Zhou Fu's cultivation was tyrannical. Several figures jumped out of the team. 2 of them waved their sleeves and caught the 4 guards who were flying back. After landing, They handed them to the whole family people next to them. Zhou looked at the people who jumped out. They were wearing the same bluestone clothes and had the same solemn expression. His eyes revealed a hint of a smile. Not bad. Their auras were very stable. They were indeed cultivators from famous sections. Zhou looked across and sneered. Cut the crap. If you want my fan music workshop, let me see if you are qualified. As soon as his voice fell, Zhou jumped up and quickly came in front of the group of monks. He punched down in the air. The fierce and domineering fist force surged out and hit the ground with a whistling sound. Attack! The 6 monks who had just jumped out of the team attacked at the same time. For a moment, golden light shone in all directions. Boom! The fist force landed. With a loud bang, the surging inner force set off a wave of air that swept in all directions. Chapter 252. After the attack, Zhou turned around and retreated 10 steps away. The ground under the feet of the 6 monks who took Zhou punch had already shattered, and their entire feet were punched into the ground. An abnormal flush appeared on their faces, but it was suppressed in the blink of an eye. All of this was seen by the 2 monks behind them. They looked at each other and saw the surprise on each other's faces. Is this the Vajra battle body? But the strength shouldn't be so terrifying, said a monk. Junior brother Xinhua, if I'm not wrong. This person also cultivates the great sun true qi of the Defo Temple. Thank you for your reminder, senior brother Xinqing. Monk Xinhua thanked Xian Chang beside him and said, I'm afraid this kid's physical body is not much worse than ours. Xinqing nodded. I've long heard that the body tempering technique of the body tempering hall was unique. Not only did they absorb the concept of the immovable Vajra Sutra of the Defo Temple, but they also integrated some things of the great Sun True Scripture. I thought that those things would disappear with the destruction of the body tempering hall. I didn't expect that there would still be some left in the world. Senior brother, wait a moment. Let me test him first. Xinhua took a step forward and said in a deep voice, Junior brothers, you're not his match. Retreat first. The 6 monks looked at each other, and their faces were filled with unwillingness. But there was no other way. Senior brother Xinhua had already spoken. They responded and retreated to the team. Xinhua took 3 steps closer to Zhou and said, I'm Xinhua of the Xingfu Temple. I'm here to experience the unique skills of the body tempering hall. He didn't waste any time. After introducing himself, he shouted in a low voice, Take this. Golden light bloomed, and waves of fluctuations appeared in the air. Xinhua struck out with his palm, and a beast roar sounded in the air. The condensed palm shadow shook the air and struck Zhou with bursts of internal strength. This thing, is it really a Buddhist cultivation technique? Why is it so fierce? Looking at Xinhua's move, Zhou muttered. The inner strength in his body surged, and a white-gold inner strength flowed under his skin like water. Compared to Xianhua's radiance, Zhou seemed much more ordinary. He threw out a punch and met the incoming palm shadow. Boom! There was a loud bang. The beast form in the void instantly collapsed. The fist did not stop, breaking through the layers of inner strength and colliding with the newly formed golden palm. Clang! The fist and palm collided, as if 2 massive iron blocks had collided together. For a moment, the 2 of them were engaged in a fierce battle. The explosive energy surged violently, and the rumbling sounds were unceasing. At this time, the Ho family and Fan Yinfang's people all retreated until they were 100 steps away. The 2 people in the field quickly exchanged close to 100 moves. After Xianhua struck out with his palm and forced Zhou to retreat, he also retreated in a flash. Zhou right? Xianhua gasped for breath. The battle just now was a real fight, which consumed a lot of his physical strength and inner strength. He rolled up his sleeves, revealing his slightly trembling arm, which was covered in purplish-green fist marks. When Xian Cheng, who was standing at the back, saw those marks, his pupils constricted and his heart sank. As Xianhua's senior brother, he naturally knew his junior brother's strength. Even compared to him, Xianhua was not far off. In other words, if he had gone up just now, the outcome would not have been much better. Xian Chung turned his head to look at the dumbfounded Ho Yong behind him. His face was gloomy. The situation in front of him was different from what the other party had said. Hence, he asked in a deep voice, Ho Yong, didn't you say that Zhou Fu was just an idle blood transformation, third realm cultivator? He cursed in his heart. Is this the King idle blood transformation realm? He had almost beaten up the extraordinary beings from famous sections. How could he be idle? Ho Yong was also stunned. He was very confused and panicked. Previously, that was what everyone had said about Zhou Fu. He was from the countryside and had never seen the world. It was all thanks to the giant whale's busyness and the internal strife that he had today's achievements. Now that he saw it today, why was it like this? Seeing Ho Yong's expression, Xian Chung snorted. It seemed that the other party was also not clear about Zhou Fu's true strength. He turned around and looked at Zhou Fu. He thought to himself, fortunately, even if the other party can contend with Xian Hua, there is still Xian Chung. As long as the two of them work together, wouldn't it be easy to take down the other party? Although he thought so, he still secretly hated the Ho family. When the Heong Mystery Realm was over, he would definitely ask the Ho family for an explanation. Looking at Xian Hua again, his arms were glowing with a gentle light. Those fist marks were also fading at a speed visible to the naked eye. When all the scars disappeared, Xian Hua looked at Zhou Fu and said with a faint smile, if not for the opened acupoints, these injuries would really give me a headache. He said this to put pressure on Zhou Fu. He wanted to let Zhou Fu know that cultivators in the Exuvia realm were different after opening their acupoints. Zhou Fu snorted at Xian Hua's verbal attack. In the battle just now, the other party had also left some scars on him. The difference was that those scars had already healed under his powerful healing ability. Vajra Battle Body had already been tested, and the effect was very good. According to the situation just now, even if an Exuvia Realm 2 came, he could still fight it head-on. Next would be the saber technique. Zhou Fu reached back and grabbed in the air. Not far away, the saber stabbed into the ground flew out and landed in his hand. He raised the saber and pointed it at Xian Hua. On the saber, layers of platinum lines appeared. The blazing heat made the air around the saber start to roll. Xian Chung and Xian Hua's eyes flashed. They thought to themselves, this is Great Sun True Qi. Xian Hua looked at Xian Chung and shouted, Senior brother. Xian Chung nodded and stepped forward. He said, since you want to use a weapon, I can't watch junior brother Xian Hua be at a disadvantage. In the surrounding restaurants, a large number of curses could be heard. They were all saying that Xian Chung was shameless. At Exuvia Realm, as long as the other party didn't use a divine weapon, there was no difference whether he was barehanded or wielding a weapon. The saber in Zhou Fu's hand didn't have the unique aura of a divine weapon. Among the spectators, there was also someone Zhou Fu was familiar with. He came from Defo Temple, Fengwan. When he saw that Xian Chung and Xian Hua were going to team up to fight Zhou Fu, he felt a warm sensation on his face. This was too shameful for Buddhism. Who would do something like this? Amiba, the monks of Xingfu Temple are really... After muttering for a long time, he couldn't say the word shameless. Sitting beside Fengwan was an old monk. Even his eyebrows were gray. After hearing Fengwan's words, he said, Xingfu Temple is different from my temple. Although the monks in the temple are called monks, they don't practice Buddhist scriptures. Their style of doing things is more towards the Jianghu. It's not strange for them to do something like this. Fengwan quickly said, Martial uncle is right. This old monk was Fengwan's martial uncle. His Buddhist name was Miao Ju. Monk Miao Ju looked at Zhou Fu. His eyes flickered slightly. He praised in a low voice. This almsgiver Zhou is indeed extraordinary. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe that there is a cultivator in this world who can use the Great Sun True Qi to condense the true meaning of the Great Sun. What? Fengwan suddenly opened his eyes wide and exclaimed in surprise. Seeing Miao Ju looking over, he lowered his voice and quickly said, Martial uncle, you didn't see wrongly, did you? A few months ago, Zhou Fu hadn't mastered the Great Sun True Qi. How can he have the true meaning of the great sun now. Miao Ju didn't care about Fong Guan's doubts. He smiled faintly and said, "There are many obstacles in this world that can blind one's thoughts, actions, and knowledge. Therefore, you have to look with your heart. Have you not been studying Buddhist scriptures recently? When you go back, go to the recitation hall and practice in seclusion for a month." Fong Guan's expression suddenly changed. He turned his head and his face fell. There were two people that the great Buddhist temple's younger generation feared the most. One was the abstinence yard's first seat, Zen Master Miao Yin. The other was Zen Master Miao Ju. Needless to say, the abstinence yard had its own dignity, and Zen Master Miao Ju was in charge of the great Buddhist temple's collection. If you were targeted by him, not only would you be made to copy the scriptures, you would also be made to explain them. If you didn't explain well, you would have to continue copying. In this way, the punished monk would suffer both physically and mentally. None of the younger generation could escape. At the mention of Miao Ju, all the monks' expressions changed. The corners of Miao Ju's mouth curled up slightly, revealing a smile. Young people were all hot-blooded. He had also experienced such a period. Especially after he gained his skills, he was filled with energy and wanted the world to know him. Although he could rapidly increase his cultivation in such a state, it wasn't good for his Buddhist Dharma cultivation. The world knew that Buddhist and Taoist cultivation techniques were extremely powerful, but few knew that those powerful cultivation techniques required a deep foundation in Buddhist Dharma or Taoist Dharma. Otherwise, in the end, it would be like a castle in the air, a flower in the mirror, or the moon in the water. Once one's luck declined, it would collapse like a bubble. One had to know that the stronger the cultivator in this world, the more reasonable they were. Miao Ju turned his head to look at Zhou Fu on the street outside the window. He sensed that he was like a huge fireball. If his restrained aura were to erupt, the two Xing Fu temple monks would not be able to withstand it. "Benefactor Zhou, what are you trying to do? Together? Huh, it's not impossible." Zhou Fu grinned, and the aura he released suddenly tightened. The next moment, the saber tore through the air. "Kill!" The new duo looked at each other and nodded. At the same time, they shouted and struck out with their right palms. The saber light slashed down. Boom! The ground of the street and the windows of the surrounding houses were instantly torn apart by the surging inner strength. The three figures collided. For a moment, golden light flashed and heat waves surged. The moves of Yaoyang Chop flowed out from Zhou Fu's saber like flowing water. The fierce saber light constantly tore apart the inner strength coming from the opposite side, and then slashed toward the bodies of the two. The new duo also displayed the characteristics of the cultivation techniques they cultivated. Their abnormally strong golden bodies resisted the slash of the Yaoyang Chop. Chapter 253. The more Zhou Fu fought, the more excited he got. Other than not using true meaning of Great Sun, he used all his other abilities. The carefree battle made him more and more adept at using his own strength. His moves also began to integrate into his own style. After 100 moves, the voice of the support system rang out as expected. The level of Dazzling Sun / rose from level 4 to level 5. Different from Zhou Fu, Xian Cheng and Hua Hua felt more awkward as they fought. According to their previous thoughts, although Zhou Fu could suppress Xian Hua with his participation, they would be able to quickly take down Zhou Fu. But things didn't go as they wished. Not only did they fail to take down Zhou Fu, the pressure on them was constantly increasing. Why was it like this? No, there's a problem. Xian Cheng's face suddenly changed. His thoughts turned rapidly, and even the rhythm of his attacks began to change. Beside him, Xian Hua suddenly felt the pressure rapidly increasing, and there were a few more wounds on his body. He turned to look at Xian Cheng and found that the other party was distracted. This made him furious. Just as he was about to wake Xian Cheng up, a saber light slashed towards his neck. Bastard! Xian Hua waved his palms, and a faint beast shadow appeared behind him. Roar! The beast shadow roared towards the sky, and suddenly raised its front paw and attacked Zhou Fu. Come on! Zhou Fu was still worrying about how to stimulate the fighting spirit of the two people opposite him. Before he could think of a method, the other party erupted. The dazzling Sun Long saber's light burst out, and the sharp saber chi cut through the air and slashed on the beast's paw. Rumble! Zhou Fu was sent flying and smashed into the ground, shattering the surrounding ground. What a strong force! Zhou Fu, who was lying on the ground, was fine. He first praised and then stood up. At this moment, his clothes were already torn, leaving only a few cloth strips hanging on his body. There was a tearing sound. He tore off the cloth strips. Impossible. It's fake. How was this possible? Xian Cheng and Xen Hua instantly opened their eyes wide. Looking at Zhou Fu's body without any scars, they were stunned. After Zhou Fu tore off the cloth, he clearly felt a large number of gazes and a strange power being projected on him. What was going on? His heart sank. Wasn't he just shirtless? Why did it feel like the world around him was different? Before he could continue probing, Xian Cheng had already regained his senses. He stared at Zhou Fu and even ignored Xian Hua, who was looking at him questioningly from the side. He said fiercely, "Good, you're good." He actually treated us as whetstones. How arrogant. Hearing this, Xian Hua was stunned. What did he mean? Whetstone? What whetstone? When he turned his head to look at Zhou Fu again, he only heard the other party laughing heartily. Ha ha, I finally met someone with eyes. Zhou Fu waved the long saber in his hand provocatively and smiled proudly. You don't say. With the two of you today, at least I've saved a few days of hard work. Xen Hua instantly opened his eyes wide, his gaze moving back and forth between Zhou Fu and Xian Cheng. No, impossible. He didn't believe it was true. Nonsense. Xian Hua pointed at Zhou Fu and shouted, "You're just in the blood transformation realm, in front of us two Exuvia who have opened up acupoints. You're actually so arrogant. Just now, we were just thinking that it wasn't easy for you to cultivate, and we didn't want to kill you. Now, it seems that not only did you not understand our good intentions, it even encouraged your arrogance. Since that's the case, we won't hold back anymore." He turned his head to Xian Cheng and said, "Senior brother, let's go all out and kill him." Xian Cheng nodded fiercely. "Yes, kill him." The two of them roared, "Kill." Zhou Fu grinned and said disdainfully, "Kill me? Umph. Today, I'll send you to paradise and let you meet the true Buddha." He waved his long saber and slashed at the two of them. In a restaurant, in the room of Ning, an East City Guardian, Zhao Wu, the original square table had been replaced with a round table. There were a few more people beside him. They were the guardians of the other 4 cities. "You guys sure are relaxed." Zhao Wu glanced at the other 4. "Yeah, there's nothing we can do. How can our place be as lively as Brother Zhao's place? Look, there's no street there. The ground can be directly planted with crops." The person who spoke was the South City Guardian, Wei Ming. As Wei Ming spoke, the West City Guardian, Lu Wanjun, and the North City Guardian, Wang Wei, laughed out loud. This ear-piercing laughter made Zhao will want to beat someone up. At this moment, the Ning and City Guardian, who was also the 4's boss, Duan Sanshan, said, "All right, it's about to end over there. Did you guys notice that there's something wrong with that kid named Zhou Fu?" "I saw it," one of them replied. Another person said, "Although the 2 little monks' cultivation levels are still low, their strength is not inferior to that of an ordinary extraordinary level 2 cultivator. Look at the situation when they attacked. Their inner strength has begun to condense. Moreover, they're about to cultivate the true meaning of martial arts." That's right. Even so, that Zhou Fu doesn't have a single wound on his body. The eyes of Zhao Wu and the others flickered. They looked at Zhou Fu's body and were silent for a long time. Is the Vajra battle body of the body refining hall really that powerful? After this question was raised, no one answered. After a while, someone said, "No, it's not like we haven't seen the Vajra battle body before. There's definitely something wrong with this Zhou Fu." For a moment, everyone's eyes were focused on Xing Gang. In an instant, Xing Gang felt as if a small mountain was pressing down on him. His entire body suddenly sank. At the same time, he cursed in his heart, "Damn that Zhou Fu. He clearly has the strength to crush the opponent. Can't he just kill him directly? Why did he have to dawdle?" Now, something has happened, damn it. Even I'm going to suffer. Second young Master Xing. Aren't you going to say something? What a second young Master Xing. The corner of Xing Gang's mouth twitched. I know a little about this. Not only did Zhou Fu cultivate the Vajra battle body, but he also cultivated the spring breeze and rain body nourishing technique. Coupled with the great sun true qi, the combination of these techniques might have a different effect. As soon as he said that, everyone in the room frowned. They knew about the spring breeze and rain body nourishing technique and had seen it before. Even if Zhou Fu cultivated it, it wouldn't be like this. They were all thinking, could it be that the Vajra battle body really has such a miraculous effect when combined with the great sun true qi? Could it be that the body refining Hall's pursuit has succeeded? The room fell silent again. When they looked at Zhou Fu again, the expression in their eyes had changed. Enough, Duan Sanshan said. Let's put Zhou Fu's matter aside for now. It won't run away. Right now, those two little monks seem to have angered Zhou Fu. If we don't take action, perhaps the old monk from Xingfu Temple will come looking for us tomorrow. After saying that, he looked at Zhao Wu. Sigh, I'll go now. Zhao Wu sighed. It wasn't because he wanted to take action, but because he foresaw that after today, Ning and East City would no longer be peaceful. Damn the body refining hall. They had already turned into ashes, but they still managed to stir up trouble. You don't need to take action, Duan Sanshan suddenly said. Without waiting for others to ask, he said again, the great Buddha temple sent someone. Duan Sanshan walked to the window and looked not far away, saying, let me see. TSK, it's actually a wondrous feeling. Good guy, this old monk is about to break through to Exuvia, right? Everyone present suddenly shuddered. Break through to Exuvia? Why would such a big shot come here? Zhou Fu's saber slashed through the joint attack of Xian Cheng's duo, and with a backhand, he blasted the two away. He felt the power from the long sword. It was 30% stronger than before. These two bastards, it seems they're really going all out. Under their madness, Zhou Fu knew that he wouldn't be able to take them down in a short time. The two monks' resistance and recovery abilities were very strong. What made him feel even more annoyed was that the two monks actually began to eat pills. At that moment, the monks who had been injured by Zhou Fu and the Ho family's team were already fine. They even took 2 steps toward the battlefield. It seemed they wanted to surround and attack. Zhou Fu thought about it and called out the stats page. He quickly locked onto a cultivation method he threw in the corner. Dragon Subduing Art. Dragon Subduing Art. Level 15. Specialty. Strength enhancement. The current situation didn't allow Zhou Fu to break through. Zhou Fu had too little information about the mortal evolution state, especially information about the aperture points. Although Xing Gang told him some, it was too little. He still had to be steady. Hence, the best method now was to improve his cultivation method. Improve Dragon Subduing Art. Ding! Dragon Subduing Art has successfully leveled up. Current level 2. As the notification sounded, Zhou Fu's muscles started to tremble. Waves of fiery qi and blood boiled in his body. Power! He seemed to feel endless power. The new disciples on the other side also noticed Zhou Fu's abnormality. He broke through. Xian Hua was stunned and shook his head. No, he's still in the blood transformation state. There's no aura of the mortal evolution state. I'm talking about his cultivation method. He should have broken through. Cultivation method? Xian Hua's heart clenched. This kid couldn't be left alive. Otherwise, he would definitely become their inner demon. If that happened, it would be hard for them to achieve great things in the future. This kid must be killed. Yes. Zhou Fu also saw the changes in their expressions. Although he didn't know how to read minds, he knew that they definitely didn't have anything good to say. Improve Dragon Subduing Art again. Seeing the experience points disappear on the supporter face, Zhou Fu felt as though there was an invisible hammer that treated him as a piece of metal and continuously hammered him. The hammer hammered down, causing Zhou Fu's qi and blood to tremble nonstop. Bong! A wound appeared on Zhou Fu's body, but it recovered in the blink of an eye. Zhou Fu was shocked. Although he didn't bleed, This sudden situation still caused his heart to tremble. What was going on? Could it be that his current body constitution couldn't support the dragon-subduing art? Was this cultivation method so domineering? One must know that he had maxed out Vajra Battle Body, Great Sun True Chi, and Ming King Sutra. Chapter 254. Peng. Another scar appeared on his body. Zhou Fu's face turned ugly. He could feel something gushing out of his body. At this moment, a thought flashed through his mind. Could it be that it was similar to marrow cleansing? Was it trying to expel the impurities in his body through his blood? If that was really the case, then this cultivation technique was simply too tyrannical. After thinking it through, he no longer hesitated and threw the long saber in his hand behind him. Then he raised his fingers and slashed his left arm. Puff! A wound appeared, and a large amount of black-red blood gushed out. The sudden change stunned everyone who was watching. The same question appeared in their minds. What's going on? Why is he hurting himself? As the black-red blood flowed out, Zhou Fu could feel his bones and muscles becoming stronger. Another disadvantage was that his blood and qi were being consumed too quickly. With a tap of his foot, he turned into a shadow and arrived beside Huang Feng. My lord Bloodyang Pill. Huang Feng hurriedly took out a small jade bottle. But before he could pass it to Zhou Fu grabbed it and crushed the bottle. The Bloodyang Pill inside rolled into his hand. He rubbed his hands together, and the wax covering the pill fell to the ground. He raised his head and swallowed the pill in his hand. All of this happened very quickly. It wasn't until Zhou Fu ate the pill that the two new senior and junior brothers reacted. Don't let him eat the pill. Kill him before the effects of the drug take effect. As soon as the pill entered Zhou Fu's stomach, it turned into surging essence qi. Then it was catalyzed into qi, blood, and inner force, replenishing what Zhou Fu had consumed. At the same time, his blood stopped flowing out and the wound on his arm healed. How strong was a threefold increase? Zhou Fu wanted to know the answer. Looking at the two people rushing over, he sneered and disappeared in a flash. Let's see how strong a threefold increase is. A cold light flashed in Zhou Fu's eyes. He gathered his strength and punched. Xian Cheng and Xian Hua attacked at the same time. Their palms were dyed in gold by the frenzied inner strength. Xian Hua pushed his special skill, the Golden Lion Protection Technique, to the limit. The beast shadow that had disappeared earlier appeared behind him again. Xian Cheng, who was at the side, had a solemn expression. As he struck out with his palms, a translucent shadow that looked like a Buddha appeared behind him. The translucent Buddha stood in the air. Following Xian Cheng's action, it also raised its palms and smashed toward Zhou Fu. In the face of such a terrifying attack, Zhou Fu laughed excitedly. You should have done this a long time ago. Previously, you were so cowardly that you didn't want to put in any effort. Now, you're finally doing something. Come, let's fight. Two fists flew through the air, and the three figures clashed once again amidst the rumbling sounds. Good guy. The Golden Lion Protection Technique of the Xingfu Temple and the Arhuit's Demon Subduing Palm, one of the temple's divine skills. It seems that these two have worked hard. Otherwise, they wouldn't have such attainments. Fang Guan, who had already arrived at the side of the street, commented while looking at the two from the Xingfu Temple. Hearing that, Miaoju nodded and said, "These two people indeed have some talent. They could be considered talents." Hearing his martial uncle's evaluation of the two, Fang Guan rolled his eyes and asked, "Martial uncle, do you think these two can suppress Zhou Fu?" "They can't," Miaoju quickly answered without waiting for Fang Guan's voice to finish. He turned to look at Fang Guan and said, "The true meaning of the Great Sun is not that simple. But those two have also comprehended the true meaning of martial arts." Miaoju sighed. "You should know that there are different levels of martial arts. The Golden Lion Protection Technique and the Arhuit's Demon Subduing Palm are far inferior to the true meaning of the Great Sun. Don't worry and watch. Who knows, we might have to fight later." Fang Guan nodded. Judging from the martial arts displayed by the two, these two must be the future pillars of Xingfu Temple. If Zhou Fu were to kill the two of them, it would cause even more trouble. Just as Fong Guan was looking for an opportunity to fight, Miao Ju suddenly transmitted, "Look for an opportunity. It's best if you can do Zhou Fu a favor." Fong Guan's body froze, and the corners of his mouth couldn't help twitching. Uncle Master was making Zhou Fu owe him a debt of gratitude. In the field, although the two had begun to fight desperately, facing Zhou Fu, who had tripled his strength, they were defeated even faster than before. The three of them had only exchanged 20 to 30 moves, but the arms of the two had already ruptured with several wounds. Even their shoulders began to ache, and the bones in their arms were in extreme pain, as if they were about to break. The two looked at each other in horror, and saw fear and bitterness in each other's eyes. They were riding a tiger, and couldn't get off. "Junior brother, fight with him. Don't fight him head-on." Xian Chung transmitted his voice. After hearing this, Xian Huan nodded slightly, and his originally fierce palm technique began to soften. After a dozen more moves, even though the two had changed their fighting style and focused on fighting, they still couldn't withstand Zhou Fu's great strength. Xian Chung secretly gritted his teeth. They could lose, but not today, or Xingfu Temple would lose face. Therefore, he transmitted his voice to Zhou Fu. "Almsgiver Zhou, we admit defeat. Let's stop." Zhou Fu looked at him in surprise. He didn't expect this person to admit defeat. He also wanted to say something to him, but he didn't know how to transmit his voice, so he could only blink. Xian Chung was a little confused. Blink? What did he mean? So he transmitted his voice again. "Almsgiver Zhou, we admit defeat today, and we will definitely come to apologize in the future. Let's stop today." Zhou Fu was helpless. His lips moved slightly, and he whispered, "Pay the price." Then he punched out and hit Xian Cheng's palm with half of his strength. Feeling the weakening of his opponent's attack, Xian Cheng was delighted at first, but when he heard Zhou Fu's words, he suddenly frowned. The other party actually asked for a price. It was the first time he had seen it. Originally, he thought that after today's fight, he would find a time in 2 days to secretly bring his junior brother to apologize. Then, this matter would be over. He had learned about this from the seniors of his sect. He was not only simple, but also stupid, but he believed it just like that. "Almsgiver Zhou, we have already admitted defeat." Xian Cheng emphasized again. Zhou Fu looked at Xian Cheng as if he was looking at a fool, and he was greatly shocked. Damn it, there was actually such a fool in this world. It was really eye-opening. Cut the crap. If you want to be decent, fine. Buy it with money. Cultivation methods or elixirs will do. Xian Hua couldn't help but growl. "Zhou Fu, don't be shameless. We are from Xingfu Temple. If you provoke us, you will suffer." Hearing Xian Hua speak so aggressively, Xian Cheng glanced at his junior brother unhappily, but because Zhou Fu's words made him very uncomfortable, he didn't say anything more. Zhou Fu was so angry that he laughed out loud. He punched out again, this time with all his strength. With a bang, Xian Hua's expression changed drastically. He could feel that the bones in his arm had been broken. With a muffled groan, Xian Hua subconsciously took 2 steps back. This retreat directly left Xian Cheng alone in front of Zhou Fu. The sudden change stunned Xian Cheng, who was still angry, for a moment. In an instant, he knew what was going on. He looked at Zhou Fu angrily and shouted, "How dare you!" Zhou Fu snorted coldly and threw out 2 consecutive punches, forcing Xian Cheng to retreat. Then, he swept his leg over. "Cut the crap. Either give me the money, or I will beat you to the ground. Choose." Choose. Xian Cheng didn't want to choose. He glared at Zhou Fu angrily and crazily circulated his inner strength. He flipped his palm and slapped the leg that was coming at him. Although he repelled the attack, his palm was in intense pain. He couldn't take it anymore. If he continued to resist, his arms would be gone. However, just as Xian Cheng was about to accept the compensation, a steady voice sounded in Zhou Fu's ears. "Benefactor Zhou, I am Yao Ju, Fong Guan's martial uncle. I can see that Benefactor's great son Tru Chi has already reached the true meaning. This is truly worthy of celebration. Today, I have something to discuss. I wonder if you can let these 2 people go on account of Defo Temple. Miao Ju, Fong Guan's martial uncle? Zhou Fu's heart skipped a beat, and he turned to look to the side. There were two monks standing by the side of the street. One of them was monk Fong Guan, whom Zhou Fu was familiar with. When he saw Zhou Fu turn to look at him, he nodded with a smile. Zhou Fu quickly made a decision and retreated in a flash. He came to Fong Guan's side. "I'm Zhou Fu. Greetings, Master Miao Ju." Miao Ju returned the greeting. "Benefactor, you are too polite. This penniless monk still needs to thank you." "I wouldn't dare. I have a deep friendship with Fong Guan. In fact, you're my senior." When Fong Guan heard Zhou Fu's shameless words, his face twitched. He said with a mocking tone, "Benefactor Zhou, I never expected you to change so much after not seeing you for a few months." In other words, he was implying that Zhou Fu's skin had become so thick after not seeing him for a few days. Just as Zhou Fu and company were talking, Xian Cheng and Xian Hua also looked at Miao Ju and Fong Guan. They knew Miao Ju. Several years ago, their master had brought them to Defo Temple for an exchange. It was at that time that they met the higher-ups of Defo Temple, including monk Miao Ju. The two hesitated for a moment before walking over together. Xian Cheng and Xian Hua of Xing Fu Temple greets Zen Master Miao Ju. Miao Ju nodded at the two and said, Good, good. Is your master, Zen Master Fa Ming, doing well?" Xian Cheng replied, "Master has always been healthy. Thank you for your concern." Xian Hua, on the other hand, glanced at Zhou Fu with a smug smile on his face. It was as if he was saying, "Who told you to be so arrogant? Our Buddhist seniors are here. So what if you are powerful?" Seeing Xian Hua's arrogant look, Zhou Fu's eyes instantly turned cold. At this time, Fong Guan came to Zhou Fu's side and separated Zhou Fu and Xian Hua from each other. He pulled Zhou Fu to the side and whispered, "In order to thank you for giving face to my martial uncle, let me remind you that this time you exposed your thwart training kung fu. You are in big trouble.